All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we've got some new info about Audrey Hale. If you don't remember, this was the Nashville trans school shooter. And so let's just go through one of the original news reports, and we'll dive into everything new. So this was originally how it was reported.
Other news are following. Details on the manifesto of the woman who killed 3 children and 3 adults at a Nashville Christian school last spring have now leaked to the public.
Showing the thoughts of the killer, some of them vulgar. Anthony's back with these details.
Scott and Dawn, the 3 images released show a schedule for what the shooter termed Death Day, and 2 pages expressing Covenant school shooter Audrey Hale's possible motive for killing 6 people, including 3 9-year-old children at the...
So notice they're already saying, the Chiron here from 2023 is already saying manifesto leaked. And they're saying that there was documents and an explanation, but we're going to get into more.
Covenant school she attended herself as a child. A month before the shooting, in Hale's journal, she wrote, quote, "kill those kids," then uses a racial slur describing white students at, quote, "private fancy schools." The 28-year-old, who identified as transgender, also uses a homophobic slur, writing a quote about white privileges. On the morning of the attack, Hale describes feeling, quote, "nervous but excited," writing, "can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent any of the sort. God, let my wrath take over my anxiety." Nashville police say the picture writings are not official crime scene images, as authorities now work to learn who released them.
Let's make sure.
And so that was initially how it was reported, that we did have an understanding of what exactly was the reasoning behind it, but that there was no actual clear documentation, no clear reasoning. Shout out to Bambi. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. We also got Jaded in the building. Ladies hanging out with me today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is from Steven Crowder and crew from yesterday, I think, right? Yesterday?
MMPD statement. Gerald, can you read it? Today is the day, yes. The day has finally come. So the MMPD statement, Gerald, can you read it? This is breaking right now, again, for people who are tuning in.
Early in the investigation was suggested that Hale left behind a manifesto detailing motives and intentions. Skipping down, by definition, a manifesto is a mission statement or other document written and disseminated by an individual or group to enumerate or expound upon the guiding principles and beliefs that inform their actions. Regardless of length, a manifesto is a single document that outlines all the factors, intentions, and objectives of an individual act or a series of actions.
Now, this is important because you might remember that, after that originally being reported that there was a manifesto, that we were all waiting for the manifesto. And it never came, and they're like, "Oh, actually, no, there was no manifesto. There was no manifesto because a manifesto is one single document, and there was no one single document. But as we are about to see, there was a lot more than one single document." Shout out to Indie Film. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Very good to see you. Shout out to Dr. Todd Grand.
Oh, this is Dr. Grande. Today, I'll offer an update on the case of Audrey Hale. I covered this case when it first occurred. The authorities have released a 48-page report, which covers the backstory behind this tragedy, including answers to questions about the mysterious manifesto frequently mentioned in the media. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis.
Yeah, so there was, kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself. But yeah, first they said there was a manifesto without much details. Then there was a bunch of, it was a diary and a bunch of notes, but they were saying there was no manifesto, making it seem like they were trying to, kind of backpedal on the idea that there was a manifesto in the first place. And so if I'm not mistaken, we got some redacted documents and stuff. He's about to go over this. And then, what we got today. He works with Dr. Venti. And you can call me Dr. Tall. I like that.
Of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Audrey Hale was born on March 24, 1995, and lived in Nashville, Tennessee. She resided with her parents on Brightwood Drive. From 2001 to 2005, she attended a Presbyterian school called The Covenant, before attending a magnet school for the arts. She graduated from high school in 2014.
So The Covenant is where she went to middle school.
In 2022, she earned a bachelor's degree in graphic design. Audrey worked as a pet sitter and a delivery person for a grocery shopping service. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On March 27, 2023, at 8 a.m., Audrey left her house carrying a large duffel bag. This bag contained firearms, ammunition, tactical gear, and stuffed animals. She drove her 2014
always a sign of mental health. And so, yeah, it's just going to go through the basic timeline and all that good stuff. Shout out to Matthew King. Very good to see you, sir.
Honda Fit to the parking lot of a shooting range that she had visited before. There, she put on a tactical vest and assembled and loaded 3 firearms: a Leadstar Grunt 15 AR pistol chambered in .556 NATO, a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 chambered in 9mm Luger, and a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield 2.0 chambered in 9mm Luger. Audrey left the shooting range at 9:33 a.m. and drove to The Covenant, arriving at 9:53 a.m. Again, this is the Presbyterian school that she attended years earlier. She parked on the west side of the building and sent a goodbye message to a friend through Instagram Messenger. Audrey indicated that the friend would probably hear about her on the news.
I'm going to speed this up a little bit because you guys probably are familiar with the details, but I think it's important to go over the timeline.
And she left more than enough evidence behind to make sense of her behavior. Audrey exited her vehicle at 10:09 a.m. She had the 3 firearms with her. At 10:10 a.m., Audrey fired the AR pistol at the doors of the school, shattering the glass. A 61-year-old custodian heard the noise and approached the area. Once he saw Audrey, he tried to run away, but she shot him. He was mortally wounded. Smoke from the muzzle of Audrey's weapon activated a smoke detector and set off the fire alarm for the building. As the students and the faculty started to evacuate, Audrey ascended a stairwell and encountered a 61-year-old teacher and 3 9-year-old students. Audrey fired on them, mortally wounding the teacher and killing the students. Audrey then patrolled the hallways of the school looking for more targets. She found the school's 60-year-old executive principal in a hallway and shot her to death. Audrey resumed her search activities and looked in several offices, but she did not find anyone. She ended up shooting 2 television screens, as well as doors leading to classrooms. Audrey then went upstairs into the sanctuary and fired into a stained glass window. This was at 10:20.
That's going to be another part of this question of, I don't really love the framing of hate crime, but was this, or rather, where was this attack targeted?
1 a.m. 2 minutes earlier, at 10:19 a.m., police officers arrived at the school and started searching for the shooter. Audrey approached a large window in the second-floor lobby and saw officers exiting their vehicles in the parking lot. She opened fire on them through the large window. During 2 minutes of sustained fire, Audrey disabled 2 police vehicles by striking tires, but nobody was injured. As some officers were pinned down behind their vehicles, others entered the school and followed the sound of the gunfire. They located Audrey on the second floor and approached her. She did not hear the officers for a few reasons. The fire alarm was sounding, Audrey was firing her own weapon, and she was wearing earplugs. 2 police officers shot and killed Audrey as she stood at the large window firing at the officers outside. After reconstructing the crime, the police concluded that Audrey had fired 152 rounds during the attack, and she still had 272 cartridges on her person.
She came ready.
Most of these cartridges were loaded into magazines. Investigators concluded that Audrey worked alone, and with her death, there was no further threat to the community. Now moving to my analysis. The primary question in this case.
All right. So again, that was just the basic timeline of what happened. In case it's been a couple years, just in case you forgot.
It's about Audrey's motive. Why did she carry out this attack?
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go in the other direction. Let's go back to what Crowder was talking about, and then we'll get some details from Dr. Grande.
In this case, a manifesto did not exist.
And then the final thing when it said there were no documents.
What did exist were a series of notebooks.
All right, where are we? What did exist? Where was that? What did exist? I don't see that. What did exist? What did exist?
Art composition books and media files created by Hale documenting her planning and preparation for the attack.
I don't know where he's reading that from.
Jeez. And then there was one other, I can't read it there. That never left, Hale never left behind a single document explaining why she committed.
Hale, yeah, so that's weird that we read up to here and then he read something else that wasn't in here. But yeah, in this case, manifesto didn't exist. Hale never left behind a single document explaining why she committed the attack.
Why she specifically targeted the Covenant and what she hoped to gain, if anything, with the attack.
Not a single document explaining any reason as to why.
No single document. Not so here again, you can see it says not doesn't say not a single document. No single document. That's what they're hinging upon. The slimy language of no single document. But as we're about to see, well, like I said, there's a lot more than that.
The attack.
A shout out to Captain Paul. Welcome to the party. So this is random. This case is a couple years old, so more stuff has come out. Yeah. Exactly what we're saying is that we did have some information before, but a lot of it was redacted, and they tried to obfuscate what was really going on. And now we've got some more. Welcome. Shout out to Dylan Soup. Said the thumbnail of the shooter looks like she was cosplaying as a Columbine shooter. Well, that was a heavy influence, as we will see. Yep.
Not a single document explaining any reason as to why she committed the attack. Okay.
I missed this one. And Matthew says this was obviously hatred of religion. Guessing a Bible thumper took offense to her transition at some point, and she blamed all Christians. Very possible.
Rewind.
Oh, sorry.
Death Day.
Okay, there it is.
March 27th, 2023. Today is the day, yes. The day has finally come.
Indeed. Shout out to M169. Welcome to the party.
Can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. I'm a little nervous, but excited too. Been excited for these past 2 weeks. There were several times I could have been caught, especially back in the summer of 2021. None of that matters now. I'm almost an hour plus 7 minutes away. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent any of the sort. God, let my wrath take over my anxiety. It might be 10 minutes tops. It might be 3 to 7. It's gonna go quick. I hope I have a high death count. Ready to die. Ha ha. Signed, Aiden.
Ha ha. And so this is what you're probably familiar with. This what's pictured. And again, so it's not like we didn't know anything, but we know some more. I said, if I remember correctly, her parents were Christians, and she resented their views heavily. Yep. Yeah. Even I could definitely understand as a Christian why this one would be specifically egregious. But even as somebody who is not religious at all, it was just like, Jesus Christ, no pun intended.
Next page, Audrey. Kill those kids, 3 exclamation points. Those crackers going to private fancy schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpacks with their M-daddies, Mustangs, and convertibles.
M-daddies, what?
You little shits. I wish to you weak-ass with your mop yellow hair. Wanna all you little crackers again. Bunch of little with your white privileges. You. Then we have the schedule. Death Day, 6:30, desired. It's covered by a sticky note. 7 a.m., get dressed. 7:05 to 8:55.
But there was no single document, guys. There was no single document.
With stuff.
And this is Crowder is the only place that I saw any of this information.
Animals plus possessions. 9 a.m., eat breakfast at home. The home is encircled in a heart shape. 9:30, pack up special belongings and backpack. Test knife core breaker, leave for Royal Range. Gear up plus setup, guns and trunk. Final videotape, leave for Covenant School. So the schedule isn't necessarily something I need to go through in detail, but we will provide it for you.
It was a female. It was a female, Audrey Hale, that wanted to be a man, Aiden. But exactly, lots of confusion because of the way it was reported with with that type of stuff. Remember, it was supposed to be the first, it was the first female school shooter. But a lot of the reports were saying he and him and this boy and stuff like that.
We're back.
Sorry.
So I didn't want to adulterate that with my current. Yeah, I mean, let me ask you this: do you think they considered a manifesto if it was I want to kill all those N-words instead of crackers?
It could have just been one of those pages. So the point is being made that they're saying that they took all of this from the different journals that this person had. Okay, fine. One of those pages suffices for me.
Yeah, you take
one of those pages.
How about we forget all the other? Exactly.
Not a manifesto. Not a manifesto. Don't say it's, she sounds like she targeted those who couldn't defend themselves. Truly a vile waste of space. Yep.
I was told it didn't have to. I was told it didn't matter the length of the manifesto. There's a timetable given that I want to kill all of these kids. It's like, okay, does it have to have every single element of what's going to happen?
Is the Bible a book?
Exactly. That's exactly what
it's a series of books, technically, but yes.
Yes, it's a series of books that make up one
The Bible is the most sold book
Christian
of all time.
manifesto,
Right. Yes.
as it were.
Exactly.
The Christian Manifesto.
I mean, unless I'm missing something here, this is an absolute just travesty that they're trying to say something doesn't exist that absolutely does exist. Research, am I wrong? Like, do you guys have split opinions out there? Chat, let us know. Did that?
No, I'm with him. It doesn't have to do with, whether it's my personal beliefs or not. And clearly there is a bias in the media against wanting to show Christians as victims. It's just that simple to me. And he said, yeah, but they could have said female to male because that entails testosterone. It gives context they don't want people to know. This is one of many trans shootings, so maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Maybe, but this one was definitely female that was trying to pass as male. And he said, it's amazing. These always happen at gun-free zones. I mean, they don't see these signs that say no firearms. So it's almost like these gun-free zones are a target.
Sound like there was nothing like a manifesto left?
Well, let's say you even want to argue the technicality. They skimmed past this. There were several different journals. Unless I'm missing something, they didn't go into which specified the type of people she wanted to kill, the timeline in which she planned to kill them, the timeline of the day, motivations. If you want to say it wasn't a manifesto, it just expressed motivations and a plan. Fine. And then people would read that and go, "Oh, a manifesto."
Exactly.
And then what?
Great. Now we're going to get a documentary called "What is a Manifesto?"
Yes. Yes. Apparently that is next on the docket. Oh man, you wear a bad wig and go do that one too. Listen, I think.
What do you mean do that one too? That was not you guys.
It's always been our point that we want to understand why this happened. We want to understand what the motivations were so that other schools, other targets potentially could be on the lookout for something like this to happen, so that we never have to have kids buried that went to school. Again, I never want that to ever happen again. I want to understand the failing so that we can learn from it. To come out and give a chicken shit example of this not, and pardon my language, but to say that this is not a manifesto. No, it is. It absolutely.
Gerald with the potty mouth.
Really is. Your job in MNPD is to give. I know. I'm sorry. This is kids.
Yeah.
You could have been protecting kids the entire time. Instead, you're focused on the word manifesto. Yeah. Did you release this information to the public, MNPD, or did we?
Did you threaten to sue us?
Like I said, the only place I saw it was from them. And I'm not even a huge Crowder fan. I don't follow the show that closely. It's usually when they get these scoops. I remember back in 2020 when they had this special about the address on some of the mail-in ballots. And then one of them was like a bridge or something. And I certainly remember that. So I'll give him credit where it is due. And he said they should just pass a law saying murder is illegal. Then these shootings will stop. It's time for common sense reform. If only. So that's where I am, from an outsider perspective of the point that he's trying to make is, well, we could have protected more Christian students. I mean, like I definitely think that it's important to understand, what's going on with these shooters, with these people. But, I'll take it a step further. It's also important for people not to feel like there's just an epidemic of people going out to random schools and doing this. But I don't think that knowing that it was specifically Christians, even though it was a Christian school, would have necessarily helped us protect other Christian kids in a way that we aren't already trying to protect them. You know what I mean?
Did you release this information to the public, MNPD, or did we?
Did you threaten to sue us?
Did you threaten to sue us? Did you say you didn't know if it was real? Did you say you were going to release the manifesto? Did you say you were going to get information out there? Or were you just sitting on this stuff saying, oh, well, I guess we can't?
It's even Wasn't it more than a suit? Wasn't it a threat of actual charges?
Yeah, no, it's even worse than that. And here's how you know.
Shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir.
A threat of actual charges?
Yeah, no, it's even worse than that. And here's how you know.
And they're talking about charges against them for putting that information out.
Here's how you know they have no interest in the truth. The mayor, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going by memory here because there was the lawyer who claimed the families didn't want it out there, and then there was the MNPD. The mayor, I believe, said they were going to call the FBI to investigate us, right? Something along those lines. Call for an investigation into us. Yeah. Not one call here was received. There was no interest. So there are some things here that are coming in. I don't know all of it. There was no interest in an investigation here to confirm the authenticity. No one even called us.
That's like if somebody had specific information on Matthew Crooks and was releasing it outside of what the establishment wants to release, and the FBI calls up and says, "Hey, you've got all this information. We're going to do an investigation on this because it's Matthew Crooks. We need to figure this out." And then nothing. Like, how much would you think that they really care? Probably as much as we think that they care about it right now, which is not at all.
Here to confirm the authenticity, no one even called us to ask from the agencies, the institutions that you're supposed to trust. You can put me before a court. I've not spoken to a single person.
And so let's bring that over to our running poll. Will we ever get answers about the Las Vegas shooting? And I'm with you guys at 90% saying no. It doesn't seem like they want to give answers. It doesn't seem like they want anybody to even think about it. The quicker they can memory hole it, the better. Bambi said, "Isn't it funny how so many people are chameleons, including long-standing institutions like police departments, and how behavior changes with each president? That annoys me. People are going to adapt, and for better or worse."
I was hoping for it, expecting it. Because like, oh, here you go. Yeah, why didn't you do your job? They have no interest in it.
Yeah. So another part of the
and we're still like, why didn't you do a job?
Report here. I didn't even know that this was part of it. So there was apparently she was going to attack Cresswell Middle School and change the target selection. So I'll read the highlighted portion here. Based on this analysis.
So the beginning part says, in April 2021, Hale canceled the attack of the Cresswell Middle School altogether and changed the target to the Covenant. Hale then listened to the pros and cons for each target, focusing on the physical structure and security of each location, the age and backgrounds of the individuals at each location, and the public reaction she would receive following the attack.
Analysis. She chose the Covenant as the better target for 3 reasons. The Covenant was more geographically isolated than Cresswell Middle, which she felt would give her more time to kill. Okay. Is that valuable information to schools that are geographically isolated and maybe further away from police stations that could be on guard? Yes. With the Covenant,
but again, to be fair, Gerald, it's not like schools are not on guard.
Being a private Christian school, she would receive more notoriety. Would you then be looking at private Christian schools that are geographically isolated to make sure that they are on guard as well, potentially? Yeah. Especially when we understand that this was not just a single person acting out of rage.
Here's where
shout out to Insight of the Ages. Welcome to the party. They lied about a document they didn't want to show? Shocker. Welcome to our government. Government worm talk indeed. Shout out to Steven. Welcome to the party.
Where I say,
especially when we understand that this was not just a single person acting out of rage.
Here's where I say false empathy and political correctness actually kills people.
Yes.
I haven't, because you're the one bringing this up, so I can't see the full document. Let me ask you this. I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar. They talk about geographically isolated. Do they mention the demographic reasoning that was written?
Hey, point number 3. Due to the student body at Cresswell Middle being predominantly black, she was afraid she would be seen as a racist.
So that was the original target. The original target was predominantly black people. And she was like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that because then the media will be against me.
Which would affect how much control she had over the narrative after her death and allow others to state her motive behind the attack.
But that's not true. It wasn't fear of racism. It was hatred of white people.
Well, that's the thing. So you can start to go, okay, these 3 factors alone, geographically isolated. It was a private Christian school. So I forgot what the second point was, but it was a private Christian school, which I think
she would receive more notoriety.
More notoriety for it. Okay, so now I've got, geographically isolated. By the way, this was all around Trans Day of Vengeance. Do you remember this? That's why I say it's not an isolated incident, because this information could have been useful the day after.
We covered many calls to violence prior to this day, just to be clear.
Geographically isolated schools. And if you think this is...
What a terrible name. Why would you even think that would not inspire this type of, at least thinking, if not behavior? Trans Day of Vengeance. Vengeance.
We covered many calls to violence prior to this day, just to be clear.
Geographically isolated schools. And if you think this is silly, it's not. Geographically isolated, private Christian schools, mostly white. Those are the people specifically that should have been told, hey, this person in this community has decided to do this. Make sure you're on guard.
Well, I don't know if they knew beforehand.
A target.
No. But going forward.
Afterwards. That's what I'm saying. After this. That's the.
But it's not enough to say she was afraid of being racist. You need to say this person targeted white people.
Yes.
This person targeted Christian white people. Remember?
I mean, yes, but in the, I think it's, instead of focusing on, highlight that it's white people, that's not so much the story as it's white children, or I think more specifically Christian children, died because of how this girl understood the media would side would not side with Christians as much as they would side with black people. She knew that. So as you know, twisting the narrative is not necessarily a good thing. What you're trying to do is untwist it and show that because the media is so willing to go to bat for black people, for trans people, for whatever, and not for Christians, then that's where we go. I think the perception of the media is really what's important. Obviously, it's important that people died, but the takeaway going forward, Bambi said, so basically it was racially motivated, even via reverse racism. I hate that term. It's just racism. But essentially, but I would say again, in what he's saying is she was specifically going out to kill white people. That's essentially the same thing, but still different than she was going out and wanted to kill people, but chose different people because they were black. Am I making sense? I feel like it's a slight distinction, but I think that's important. Yeah, that explains why they withheld certain reporting. Bingo. You got it.
Remember when they said anti-Semitism was the greatest threat? Then they said anti-stop Asian hate was the greatest threat, right? They will call it out hate against any other demographic. This was, by the left's definition, a hate crime against white Christians. From the person's own mouth, their pen to paper. If they want to keep people safe and they believe in the notion of hate crime, I'm not even saying label it a hate crime. I'm saying tell people why this crime was committed. Not that she didn't want to be racist. That's a softening of it. Right now, like
not she didn't want to be racist. She knew that the racial aspects of the media existed, and that drew her to, instead of killing the people that she initially wanted to kill because of her anger, to go on innocent Christian children. That is the story.
Ricola guy, they should be like, this person was a trans individual where on the National Day of Trans Vengeance targeted white Christians. You may be, let me ask you this. You think Trans Visibility Day may be a higher risk day?
Yep.
Might be relevant, right? Trans Day of Vengeance.
Maybe we just get rid of that day.
No white Christians. Trans Awareness Day. It's not a leap. If there was a white nationalist who went out and shot people on a white Pride Day that doesn't exist, if there was a White History Day, wouldn't guarantee them. Like, and of course, everyone needs to be on alert. The difference here is I have to make up something so absurd, I'm tripping over my words. This is real. This was a trans individual who on the Trans Day of Vengeance targeted white Christian people because of their faith and their race. That's what happened. We just had another Trans National Visibility Day with a bunch of trans activists who, by the way, if you listen to their speeches, were railing against Donald Trump and modern Christendom.
And then remember, we had Grandma yesterday with 8647. Dylan said, nothing says accept me quite like a day of vengeance. These people are too delulu for words. It's sad. It is sad.
These aren't loose connections, right? Your institutions don't care about you.
A little bit more from them. This one's a little rough. But with the covenant, I'm going to read the whole thing. So with the covenant, she recognized the benefits far outstrip the drawbacks, even though she was concerned the layout of the school would give students and faculty more places to hide, more time to flee. She was emboldened by the idea the students were too young to effectively fight back or flee far.
Jesus. Again, I don't mean to be offended. Like, that's just, I'm just saying, like, geez Louise. That is very bad.
By the idea the students were too young to effectively fight back or flee far. Kids.
Bitch.
Yep.
She believed the Christian faith of those within would make them meek and afraid, which further assuaged Hale's self-doubts. The age of the children and the school being considered a Christian school made her recognize the instant notoriety the attack would bring.
Only it didn't bring notoriety for a Christian school being targeted by a trans individual. The first day and a half, they were tripping up over the fucking pronouns. So,
yep, there you go, baby. That's what you're talking about. And so there's, at the same time, there's the perception that, oh, if I go after black people, then they're going to hate me. But if I go after Christians, then it's okay. Clearly it was, very misguided. But clearly there is a difference. Clearly, there is a difference, and we can speculate as to how the conversation would have been very different if she stuck with her original plan and went to the black middle school. And I'm somebody who doesn't like to play racial games and base opinions and things on race or other immutable characteristics. But when it's clear, as he said, pen to paper, when it's clear as day, it is what it is. And he said, I'm sure the autopsy hasn't been released, but I would guarantee she was full of hormones and stuff that her body and brain couldn't process. Yep, I heard there. The other video has some more specifics about what was in the in the papers, but I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm pretty sure you're right. Shout out to Gabriel. Welcome to the party. Not too much, except for the exact words from the shooter that she specifically did not want to go after her original target because they happened to be black, and so instead she chose a bunch of Christian children. Yeah. Welcome to the party. Dylan said, well, little lady, time for all expenses paid, a one-way trip to the sun. From some parents who allow, condone, or push this ideology on their children should be held accountable for their children's actions. That's a very broad statement. I think there's nuance in when that would and wouldn't apply, but there's certainly instances when it should. I think I can't even remember. I don't want to mix up the details, but there was one where it was very clear that the parents had very strong reasons to believe that their kid might be a school shooter or a mass shooter or whatever it was, and they didn't do anything. In that case, I'm totally with it. But, just broad strokes. We can, you can't control everything your kids do.
They're trying to rewrite history. No, the fact is, even now they're trying to soften it, because this is a very acute example of white Christendom under attack. People were killed because they were white Christians. And by the way, it's no small fact that this person sees white Christian children as subhuman.
Children.
Right? Because the hate is so deep. Right? These people believe that white Christians are committing genocide against trans individuals. So you can apply, now you kind of, we always say, hey, how did the Holocaust happen? How do we, okay, here you go. Someone believes that trans individuals are being genocided by white Christians. Therefore, of course, it's okay to kill their offspring. These people aren't even human. Hey, the Jews are destroying everything and looking to subvert the entire German economy and place everyone under their thumb. It's you or them. This is what it is.
And I think that is the bottom line. I think that's the takeaway, because we could dig into the specifics of Audrey Hale or any other mass school shooter, any other horrible person. And, this is horrible that they did these things. And even if we take into account, they did these horrible things because of the media doing this, that, or the other. But the fact that it's this mentality that exists, most people aren't going to be this extreme. That doesn't mean this mentality doesn't exist. And it's that mentality, that ability to see the other side as human, as worthy of discussion, as opposed to just someone to be pushed out of the way. That I think is the takeaway. That's what, however that manifests in a particular situation, that's what needs to change.
Economy and place everyone under their thumb. It's you or them. This is what it is. With the Holocaust, it's the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath. Hitler was a psychopath. Stalin was a sociopath. Hitler believed, if you read his writings, he actually believed it's them, it's me or them, Jews or me. He had convinced himself in his mind that the Jews were going to eradicate the German people. And of course, that's insanity. He's a psychopath. So I'll kill them first. Trans individuals on that Trans Day of Vengeance put themselves into the mindset of it's them, it's me or them. Mm-hmm. White Christian, largely, let's be honest, white Christian, heterosexual males or me. They want to commit genocide against me. Well, then it's going to be them. Then it doesn't matter if you're a kid or not. So that's an acute version.
And I want to be very, very, very clear that I am not saying that being a Christian would in any way invite this type of behavior. So I don't want my words twisted. What I am going to say is that there is two sides to every coin. And the stronger that we as people who are against the trans ideology, the stronger the rhetoric is with that, the stronger the pushback is going to be. That is not excusing anyone's behavior. That is just a fact of reality.
Version, right? An actual mass murder committed against white Christendom. Now let's look at it societally. There is an all-out assault on white Christian identity in the United States on a day-to-day basis. It's the one group you can discriminate against. It's the one group that isn't allowed to express pride.
I mean, short people, definitely, you can make fun of short people all goddamn day.
It's the one group that is okay to other. But if you're a white Christian male in this country, you don't know if you're supposed to sit down, shut up, and listen, right? It's not your turn. Listen. Or if that's wrong, because silence is violence, either way, you're the villain. This is just someone, you take that, you add psychosis, okay, you get covenant. One more step. And I want to make sure that we are focusing on, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Yes, I'm an atheist. Yes, I believe there's a lot of negative influence in politics because of religion. Certainly not to that degree. But while we're talking about this, there's no need to both sides it. It's very clear that this was an attack against Christians. And I don't have to get defensive over the fact that I'm not a Christian. If we can see these things for what they are, then it's our fellow humans. If we can see it for what it is, then we can understand what it really is. You take that, you add psychosis, okay, you get covenant. One more step. You add mass psychosis, which is what the left wants, and you get actual extermination. Clear enough?
By the way, just to make sure that we put a fine point on this, do we have it? Mm-hmm. Here's the MNPD characterizing the documents that they had right after the shooting.
Speak, and we'll take any.
Oh, yeah, this was right after the shooting.
Questions.
First questions. Manifesto?
So in the manifesto, there's several different writings about
in the manifesto.
Yeah, right. So now there is a manifesto.
I have not read the entire manifesto. Our team and the FBI.
There we go.
Bambi said, I agree with him, but I also think that white people, regardless of religion, and Christians, regardless of race, are increasingly becoming targets for everything. And I think, yeah, I can agree with that.
There we go. Put a fine point on it. Really going to play word games with us when you could have helped protect people?
Yeah. Hey, if you like this video
Yeah. So let's go back to Dr. Grande here with some more specifics about what actually was in this quote unquote leak.
There has been a lot of speculation on this topic, including this idea that Audrey killed because she was transgender. Audrey was a biological female and identified as a lesbian. The authorities concluded she was not transitioning. She occasionally used the name Aiden, but that is not enough to categorize her as transgender.
Close enough for me, but that's why I put queer in the title. That I don't care if they all use queer anyway, so that's kind of a catch-all.
Let's take a look at what the police found during the course of their investigation. Audrey had a vast collection of items, which in theory could reveal something about her motive. For example, there were 16 notebooks containing handwritten entries, photographs, stickers, charts, diagrams, and drawings.
And that was a picture we saw from the other video. They were just lined up, a whole bunch of them.
In total, there were 1,299 pages of content. The entries spanned a period of about 5.5 years, from August 2017 through March 2023. In addition, the police found assorted folders and loose documents, 7 composition books and sketchbooks containing artwork, 8 memory storage devices, these were flash drives, 6 cell phones, 3 laptops, an iPod, 3 video cassette tapes, 1 DVD, a Facebook account, and an Instagram account.
So all of that, and we're surprised. We're supposed to be surprised that there was no manifesto. Yet we still completely understand the motivations of this person because of all of that stuff.
After the attack, there was a lot of speculation that Audrey had produced a manifesto. Certainly, this manifesto would shed light on her motive. After all, that is the point of a manifesto. Investigators concluded that, although Audrey left behind a lot of written work, none of it qualified as a manifesto. There was no single document which explained why she killed innocent people. To find her motive, one must examine the vast quantity of information she left behind.
Right, and just like Crowder was saying, that if technically the word manifesto means one single document, then I think it's, when you say there's no manifesto, because there's no single document, but it's a plethora of information, then that should be articulated.
She documented her plans more than most offenders in her category.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what could be learned by taking a look at Audrey's work, mental health records.
I wish she had a little more pictures and stuff, but
and other evidence. Audrey's documented mental health history started in 2001 when she was 6 years old. She experienced developmental delays and was taken for a mental health assessment. The clinician indicated that Audrey was behind in emotional processing and in asserting herself in social situations.
Already at age 6, showing the signs of somebody who is likely to fall for the social contagion that is transgenderism.
The assessment did not indicate that Audrey had autism spectrum disorder. Due to her developmental delays, Audrey started at The Covenant a year late. She had a good time at this school and considered these years the happiest of her childhood.
And just is that irony? Just the irony of the best time in her life. That's where she wants to go and commit this. Ugh.
When she transferred to the magnet school to start 5th grade, she experienced a culture shock. Most of her classmates at The Covenant were white, but now she was interacting with classmates who were primarily from minority groups. They bullied her, believing she was a rich white girl. In the 7th grade, things temporarily improved as Audrey was accepted by her basketball teammates. During the
Shout out to Dietrich. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Said, my name is Lance. My mother named me Lance. My birth certificate says my legal name is Lance, as does my driver's license. If I go by Frank, which is nowhere in my name, I'm pretending to be someone else. I mean, people change their names all the time. So if I don't think changing your name is the pretending part. It's when you are trying to take on a whole different identity. I think again, people have nicknames all the time. I don't see that as a problem, but it's the rest of it. But welcome to the party.
In 8th grade, things went back to normal as her teammates advanced to high school, and she was once again targeted by bullies for being white. When Audrey went to high school, she discovered that the girls she had been friends with had developed new interests. She was unable to establish meaningful relationships with her former teammates. Plagued by loneliness and self-doubt,
remember, brought on by the social developmental issues,
Audrey's grades suffered. In 2011, Audrey's mother once again took her to see a mental health clinician. This psychotherapist treated Audrey on a regular basis for several years. An assessment revealed that Audrey had major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, social phobia, anger problems, and was immature.
And so that begs the question, at what point do we, if you're in this type of therapy for years and you're not making, big headway in terms of solving these issues, whether through medication or through cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever else, then at what point, I'm not saying that, I'm not positing anything. I'm asking the question, at what point is it reasonable to start having these people locked away from society? Not in a prison type of thing. It doesn't have to be a bad place, but for the safety of everybody, where is that line? We used to have these asylums and stuff, and now they're just walking around with the rest of us. Dietrich said, nuance. If I called myself Emily, I would be associating with an effeminate name. I'm pretending to be something I'm not. There you go. There you go.
Was not diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, although Audrey believed she had this disorder.
I wonder why. I wonder why somebody who is not very happy with themselves at that age would believe that they have autism despite not being diagnosed with autism. Has nothing to do with the social contagion that we're talking about. Has nothing to do with the victimization that we're always talking about. The oppression Olympics that we're always talking about. Just add another box to tick off that, oh yes, I'm autistic too.
In school, Audrey's performance increased a little bit, but she was still immature. She was not fitting in with her classmates. She had romantic interest in various female classmates, but did not have success in her pursuits. After high school, Audrey went to college, even though she didn't want to, because her mother insisted. Audrey continued to live at home. Her experience in college was similar to high school. She failed to gain the acceptance of her classmates and was lonely. She carried resentment for her former basketball teammates and intensely tracked the events of their lives on social media.
And here's another aspect of, getting shit for being the only white girl in a black school or on a black, predominantly black basketball team. Like, okay, that's not okay. That's not nice. We shouldn't be doing that. But that's kind of a natural part of growing up and being different. And we're all different in a certain way. And some people are going to get it more than others, sure. But the for that to be enough to follow you around and cause you to do something like this shows that it's not the fact that she was bullied. We've all gotten some othering of some sort, and we don't all do this. Inside said, I have my doubts that this girl this girl was a victim of SA, but I'm going to put a 25% blame on the ideology and 75% on the SSRI epidemic. Probably pretty accurate.
And intensely tracked the events of their lives on social media. This included downloading many images of them. She fantasized regularly about starting romantic relationships with them, but feared that would never happen.
She was gooning away.
At the suggestion of her psychotherapist, Audrey started journaling. This explains why she filled up so many notebooks with biographical stories.
And so now are we saying, because somebody is experiencing these problems and they're in therapy and they are journaling and they have all this information, is there something that we as the public should be aware of, that when we hear there's no manifesto, that means, oh, there's probably a whole shit ton of information on this person, that there's just not one single document? And I think the answer clearly is yes.
This explains why she filled up so many notebooks with biographical stories. Audrey's mental health symptoms only grew worse over time, including anxiety, depression, social phobias, rage, and feelings of isolation. In Audrey's mind, her stuffed animals were her only true friends and would never abandon her. She assigned them names and personalities.
That's healthy.
She took them with her wherever she went.
Including, if you missed it before, to the shooting. She brought her stuffed animals to the shooting.
These stuffed animals were incorporated into her writings and drawings. They were like characters in these stories. Audrey wrote about how she shoplifted from various stores. She would steal toys, video games, and art supplies.
Just to feel something.
She justified her actions by saying this was necessary to alleviate her anxiety. Audrey started making entries which were
the cope. It's okay for me to do things against other people because of the way I feel. You can see the mentality. And so any one of these things on their own may not be a cause for concern, but clearly, when you put them all together, it is all too easy to get a school shooter. Let me say, in school, I never recall anyone othering minorities for that reason, but I do recall Black people and Mexicans doing it to white girls. I mean, there was definitely, in my school, there was definitely issues that went different ways. But I think by even, we're not too far in age. I think by the time we were in, you were in high school and I was in high school, that was not really accepted. It was, if you were, just making fun of a Black person for being Black, then, you get shit for it. It would more often come out in other types of conflicts where, you would have someone, a Black person, a white person fighting over whatever, and then person is hurling slurs and stuff. But yeah, I don't really see it from white people as much as and it being accepted. Inside, so Jordan Peterson once said the school shooters often attack because they have a twisted sense that they are saving these kids from a life of despair. The life they feel if she was abused for being white, it seems they would seems like that would track. Maybe. Well, I mean, I definitely in general, but I'm talking about with this one. I don't know. It's specifically because remember, the initial target was these not these Black girls, but Black girls or Black kids, because of the fact that she got made fun of in middle school, and she only switched over to the Christian school because of optics. She also said in the other thing that they would be too weak to fight back. So maybe sometimes, but I don't think we can even give that much credit to this one. In film said, as someone who has seen this up front closely, someone, especially a girl in her preteens, are always trying to self-diagnose as many disorders as they can. I think it's to get attention as a victim, as a way to manage past or current trauma. Yeah, and we talk all the time about how there was always a trendy diagnosis to have. And when I was in well, more so middle school, but high school as well, it was eating disorders that every girl would develop some type of eating disorder because that was the thing to do. It was a thing that you got credit for and social credit for. You got attention for it. You had the physical benefits of being skinny and all that stuff. But because that's not as sustainable as being trans is today, and you're not going to get years of support without any pushback, then it's gotten off the rails. I said she sounds like a standard case of a suicidal person, but she couldn't do it herself, so she went to her happy place to get it ended. Very possible.
Packed with expletives.
Just a heads up, guys. You may see that we're about halfway through this video already. We're definitely not going to spend the whole time on this. I did think it was important to share, and then we got something a little bit later to fill up the rest of our time.
Alleviate her anxiety. Audrey started making entries which were packed with expletives, referring to them as rage storms. They contained her complaints about how people believed different things than she did, like political beliefs, how she was being discriminated against for being autistic, even though she wasn't.
Collecting disorders and self-diagnoses.
How she was being discriminated against for being autistic, even though she wasn't, and how she was being ostracized by Black people. Eventually, these rage storms revealed homicidal fantasies, especially against people to whom she was attracted. She continued to track women online and was jealous of their romantic success. Like when she saw images of these people with a lover, that really made her angry. Audrey became fascinated with documentaries about school shootings and collected a lot of information about them, including images of the offenders, their weapons, their mental health information, and the number of people they killed.
Who brought this up before?
She did not care about their motives.
Oh, wait.
Audrey was particularly influenced by the Columbine shooters and found this to be the true source of her inspiration. She was in awe over how these killers were notorious, and she believed they had become gods. In the summer of 2018, Audrey started writing about how she could kill several people at the same time.
Yikes. Dylan said, more self-diagnoses, self-IDs, and pronouns than personality traits. Or principles, for that matter. Yup.
Audrey started writing about how she could kill several people at the same time. This would result in her no longer being ignored. By December 2018, Audrey actively planned an attack against the magnet school that she attended. Again, this was a middle school. She attended this school after the Covenant. Audrey created extremely detailed plans for this attack. Audrey told her psychotherapist that she was having homicidal fantasies, but claimed that she had no plan. She wasn't serious about them. They were just fantasies.
Just fantasies. Just like some people have just fantasies of being the other gender, right? Bambi said, this is why feminist ideology has ruined society, especially for future generations. Women fought for some independence and overindulged, and it gets worse. It gets worse every year that goes by. You ain't gonna get an argument from me.
Alarmed, the clinician ordered a mental health assessment. No concerns about homicide were detected in the evaluation. However, due to...
Good job, psychotherapists. Good job. She told you she was thinking about killing people. You evaluated her for wanting to kill people. She ended up killing people, but you said she wasn't going to kill people. Turns out you're wrong. Psychology is very important. But speaking of overstepping and overindulging, psychology is another area where there's certain aspects, again, where we've done controlled studies and replicated these studies, and we understand things about the human brain and human behavior and stuff like that. But there's a lot of places where it's still just kind of up to the judgment of the expert. And I think if we as a society want to continue being able to say that we can medically understand the human mind, which I think we can to a certain extent, and eventually should be able to a much larger extent. But if that's going to happen, then we can't overestimate how much a therapist can do. So specifically for women and girls, it's apparent in the shifted values over time. And I mean, I think it's, I don't know. I think the effect on men has been very strong as well. And I don't think the effect on men also affects the women outside of the feminism itself. So which way is it worse? I really don't know.
No concerns about homicide were detected in the evaluation. However, due to symptoms like depression and anxiety, Audrey spent 8 weeks in an intensive outpatient program.
Not intensive enough.
Audrey made a little bit of progress after this program, but quickly slid back into what she referred to as the dark abyss. She later created a logo bearing the same name. It became a symbol of the attack that she would carry out.
So this kind of ties into when yesterday we were going over a bunch of different posts, and that, what was it, the Emmys or the Oscars or something? That one girl who had, she had blue in her hair, and she's talking about, this is demonic, and and I was saying, even as somebody who doesn't believe in that stuff, that when you again indulge in the bullshit, then it really does start to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Shout out to Box. Welcome to the party. Said, I love Dr. Grande. I saw this morning. Let's watch him do an hour-long video about the cruise he went on. All right. Yeah, shout out to Dr. Grande. Welcome. Then we said, yeah, I consider psychology a pseudoscience because it's basically medication, prescriptions, and therapy doesn't help. Well, but that's such a small part of what psychology is. And that's exactly what I mean. That, first of all, medications is not psychology. That's psychiatry. So psychology is the study of how the brain works. And so, like, therapy can work in certain contexts, but it's based off more broad understandings of things that we know. So the things that we know are based on true science, are based on replicating studies and, isolating variables and doing all that stuff. The stuff we know is there. So there is hard science within psychology, but a lot of it is not that. I said, normal people cannot fathom the depth of a deranged mind. They think they do, but they've never seen the darkness. Well said. Inside the Ages said, divide and conquer is the tool of our controllers. The deepest aim of this tactic for them is the division between men and women. Marriage and family are the biggest threat. Men fight for family. Exactly. And feminism is attacking that at its very core. This is the primary goal of the work mind virus. Yes, also made in a lab in Wuhan. Excuse me, Jesus. Box, and remember, Dr. Grande is not diagnosing anyone, just giving his opinion on what he thinks is happening. His catchphrase. Well, he didn't say it today, so this is a diagnosis in my view. Maybe say I agree, but I mean specifically on the degradation of female mental health values, and which then results in men's misery because females impose emotions on the men they're in contact with. Yup. Tell me about it.
Bearing the same name, it became a symbol of the attack that she would carry out. She put it on a t-shirt that she wore during the shooting. Planning for the mass killing resumed. Audrey purchased her first firearm in October 2020. Later, she would buy several more. Eventually, Audrey decided not to target the magnet school. She grew concerned because most of the students there were black, and she did not want to be thought of as a racist.
So instead, she killed a bunch of white kids like a racist.
This would steal her glory by harming her image and allow others to rewrite her motive. In April 2021, Audrey selected a new target.
See, I mean, okay, none of this is funny, but it is a funny aspect that she was like, I'm going to get ahead of the narrative and make sure that people don't call me a racist. And then you're a racist. Good job. Good job. She's like, oh, I got this one. I've outsmarted them.
Her motive. In April 2021, Audrey selected a new target, the Covenant School. She listed 3 reasons. There were not as many Black people there. Targeting a Christian school would bring her more notoriety, and the location was more isolated, meaning the police would take longer to get there.
So that's an interesting, I didn't hear that before. More notoriety.
And the location was, targeting a Christian school would bring her more notoriety.
So that's something to dig into, because if she's thinking that a Christian school would give her more notoriety, is she saying that she thought that the general public was going to be like, yeah, get those Christians? Or is she saying that she thought it would be worse than killing a bunch of Black kids, which wouldn't make sense? Because that brings us back to the, zooming out at her perception of the media and why she did what she did. If she was thinking that they're gonna look at me as a bad person if I kill Black people, but they're gonna think of me as a good person if I kill Christians. Again, it's hard to argue against the fact that that mentality exists. Emotion not say you gotta laugh. Sometimes it's a relief valve. Yep. Everything she did was for the views. In the end, M169 said it didn't because no one wanted to look at that aspect. Good for us. She said, narcissist is what? She's not a deep thinker. It's an 18-year-old girl. You ever talk to one? Not recently. Insight said, wild to write all this down and then do it. I think she was just rationalizing why she didn't want to do this at her own school. It's different when you see faces you recognize. But was she 18? Because I thought she was recently, let's see, hold on. Audrey Hale age. Yeah, I don't think she was 18. Yeah, 28. So her initial target was the middle school. So this was a grown person. This is not a child. This is a grown person who went back, and the plan was to attack children. So it was never about faces that you recognize. That was never a part of it. Yeah, I don't either. All right. Yeah, so she definitely wasn't a child. No points there for, oh, you're just young and dumb.
Not as many Black people there. Targeting a Christian school would bring her more notoriety, and the location was more isolated, meaning the police would take longer to get there. Audrey conducted reconnaissance of the school, including a faculty-guided tour, which she obtained by saying she wanted to reminisce. In June 2021, Audrey's mother discovered that Audrey purchased a copy of the book, The Columbine Diaries.
And she loved them Columbine boys. Mr. Nine said if she was in deep with anti-Christianity ideology, it would make sense that to that crowd, it would be seen as good in her messed up mind. Yeah. And there is, I want to bring it back to why that is. Why would somebody be so far gone that they think that they would be lauded for killing Christians when they know that, killing any other group of people is going to be bad? Where does that come from? There's it, speaking and thinking are two different things, especially when depression is involved and isolation. Yep. Insight said, my guess is that the hormones and SSRIs are a ticking time bomb for anyone. Delusions of grandeur and self-ending thoughts are written right on the box. Yeah. And like I said, I've told you guys before, they wanted to put me on SSRIs. And, I take benzos now, which isn't ideal. but I definitely wasn't gonna, I wasn't gonna go down that road. Not at all.
Audrey's mother discovered that Audrey purchased a copy of the book The Columbine Diaries. She alerted Audrey's psychotherapist, who, along with Audrey's parents, insisted that Audrey give up her firearms. Her parents would keep them in a safe place. Considering how Audrey lived with her parents, she had no choice but to agree. She was furious over losing her weapons, especially at her psychotherapist. During the next month, July, the weapons were returned to Audrey with the understanding that she was going to sell them. She sold 2, but she kept the rest. After this, Audrey was more careful about concealing information about her plan. She did not want anyone to find out anything else about what she was doing. Eventually, she grew paranoid that she would be involuntarily hospitalized and her firearms would be taken away. Audrey delayed her plans so she could practice at a shooting range. As I mentioned, she carried out the attack on March 27, 2023. In light of all this new information, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Audrey was self-centered, impulsive, irresponsible, artistic, creative, intelligent, angry, aggressive, violent, insecure, vulnerable, arrogant, cold, callous, vindictive, petty, immature.
Shout out to Coney 2012.
Insecure, vulnerable, arrogant, cold, callous, vindictive, petty, immature, repulsive, grandiose, socially awkward, falsely believed she was special, and had a sense of entitlement. She developed homicidal fantasies and later a homicidal plan to get revenge for perceived injustices and to become notorious. She framed her motive as endless despair, but it was really endless narcissism.
Yup.
For example, she believed that the deaths of her murder victims were necessary to give her life meaning. Audrey was the true victim of the attack that she
poor baby,
perpetrated. She was more intelligent and more creative than anyone else. Audrey wanted everything handed to her without doing any work. She believed.
Where have we heard that before? And the sad thing is that you might even be inclined to feel bad for somebody who's going through all of this stuff. I'm sure that she didn't have an easy life, even if she she didn't have a lot of outside factors. Clearly, this was a tortured soul. But all of that sympathy goes the fuck out the window when you do shit like that. Insight said I was on them for 1 month, the SSRIs. Having done psychedelics as a comparison, I don't think anyone should be on them. We need major reform on psych meds. It's a scam. I believe you. I believe you. And as somebody who went to school for psychology and the level of uncertainty that it was just, if you're going to be a psychiatrist, the expectation was that every one of your patients was going to have to be their own guinea pig and try this and then try that and then try that. And it's not just take one and see how it does with it. It's take this every single day for 2 weeks and then see how it goes. And then come back and we'll see if that works. And then if not, then we'll try a different one. And you have to wean off of that one and they'll put you on this one for another 2 weeks. And so the process right there can take a year, if not longer. And it is not good. The money involved. Matthew said, me too. At the time, I knew everything about Columbine. Can't recall most of it anymore, but at the time it was huge. Yeah, there really wasn't anything like that that we'd seen before. Me or Grande? Because I'm a little sleepy as well. Sounds like most liberal Zoomers. Yup. Box says, is there anyone here that was never picked on as a kid? I don't think so. I don't think so. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. You missed a lot, man. You missed the whole thing, basically. The whole thing. This is gonna be a good one for you to check out on the replay, though. And specifically because we got some new information, basically already underlining what we already knew, but getting more granular and showing that this really was a racially and ideologically motivated attack, that there was a lot of thought put into this, that it was not some, it was somebody who, you know, as he's about to say, is just a straight up narcissist. And, you know, since it was so heavy, I did want to cover it, but you know, we're almost done here, and you know, we still have a lot of time left, so we're going to switch gears in a little bit, but definitely worth the replay. But either way, welcome to the party. Well, so you need to do a couple of beer for what? Do a couple of beers for 2 weeks. See how it works out. Insight. So I was put on one of the strongest versions after a 1-hour consultation. On Medicaid, it's an instant payday. That's the whole medical system. That's the entire medical system. And we have a pretty good understanding of a lot when it comes to medical science. But even in medical science, specifically with medications, whether it has to do with the mind or otherwise, there's not a lot of clear, definite, this works, that doesn't. I mean, other than penicillin and antibiotics, there's not a lot of sure things. And the mind is not something you want to fuck with. Bambi said they tried to put me on antidepressants off-label to counteract seizures and stopped taking it because it made me feel weird. That's what it's supposed to do. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. Box, so we called our fat friends pugs. There you go. Oh, bro, how you gonna? All right, well, dilly to pugs, I guess. Set me up like that. Jesus Christ. Bambi said we called my best friend's fat sister fat bastard. Get into my belly. I am definitely not the opposite of sleepy right now. Gonzac, so it wasn't a poor little baby Aladdin transit like the crazy said it was? Correct. It was not. Color me surprised. So yeah, we'll back this up a little bit for Guamtech here when he's saying this is.
And later, and had a granular, aerative. What do I think? 2023.
Okay.
As I mentioned, she carried out.
We'll back up just for Guam.
The attack on March 27, 2023. In light of all this new information, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Audrey was self-centered, impulsive, irresponsible, artistic, creative, intelligent, angry, aggressive, violent, insecure, vulnerable, arrogant, cold, callous, vindictive, petty, immature, repulsive, grandiose, socially awkward, falsely believed she was special, and had a sense of entitlement. She developed homicidal fantasies and later a homicidal plan to get revenge for perceived injustices and to become notorious. She framed her motive as endless despair, but it was really endless narcissism. For example, she believed that the deaths of her murder victims were necessary to give her life meaning. Audrey was the true victim of the attack that she perpetrated. She was more intelligent and more creative than anyone else. Audrey wanted everything handed to her without doing any work. She believed that women should submit to her romantic desires. Audrey should be accepted by everyone, and she believed that she was a deity, or at least could become a deity by carrying out the attack.
Some elevated status by getting rid of some of these dirty Christians.
When news of the heinous attack came out, some people started assigning motives that aligned with their political beliefs. For example, Audrey must have carried out the attack because she subscribed to the transgender ideology, or Christians must have judged her too harshly for being a lesbian, which is why she attacked a Christian school. As it turns out, these explanations were incorrect. This tragedy was brought on by narcissism. Where this narcissism originated could be debated. Was it caused by bullying, romantic rejection, isolation, or a sense of inferiority due to having mental health symptoms?
Or an outside perspective that this is how you should be thinking, and everybody else who doesn't think this way is a bad person.
Maybe all those factors contributed, maybe none of them did. Either way, Audrey was 100% focused on her own needs.
I mean, we are talking about a school shooter.
And wants. In my opinion, a major motivating factor for Audrey was her belief that women should be interested in her romantically.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was saying before. That the sad thing is that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that feel like her. I was saying the exact same thing. Well, good point, by design, definitely. But yeah, that even though most people are not going to do these types of things, that, and I didn't say this before, I'm saying this now, but just because somebody is not going to do as extreme behaviors as Audrey did, does not mean that their ideology and the way they think is not just as extreme, if not more. Think about that. We can have a lot of people who are out there thinking the exact same things that Audrey Hale was thinking, and they're just a tinge less crazy that they're not actually going to act on these things. That's out there. That's out there. And so when I talk about having a secular moral structure, it's because those people are out there. And if they were going to follow Christianity as opposed to the state and leftism and scientism and all that fucking bullshit, then, you know, maybe we would, maybe I would have a different perspective on these things. But, you know, we can't in one breath say that Christianity is the way that everybody needs to go, but most people are attacking Christianity and hate Christianity. Then clearly it's not the way to go. If it works for you, great. But politically, we need to account for these people. And if you're not a Christian, I can definitely understand where you say, why is it, you know, my responsibility for, but especially if you are a Christian, then being the example and setting forth what we need to do for people in the world, if not just your own nation, your own community. I don't know what else Christianity is, why it's good. If it's not that, if it's not creating an incentive for people to do the right thing, then what is it for? Like I said, the fact that most shootings never get covered, and if they do, it's for 10 minutes on a 30-minute long show. It's hard to get attention. For everyone you see, 5 go unnoticed. I don't know if that's not really true about school shootings, though, is it? Right? Like, because that's like, you know, to quote CNN in the death counter, like gangbusters. That's gangbusters. So I'm pretty sure that I guess there had to have been, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Has there been a school shooting that wasn't covered by the mainstream media? Has there been a school, let's say with deaths, shooting with deaths that wasn't covered by, because I think in general, you're right. But when it comes to school shootings, I feel like that's the one thing that they're going to report on every single time. Yeah, right. Inside said if it's white, it's a school shooting. If it's black, it's gang violence. This is how the media reports it. Well, that's kind of, that's not how it is. So, like, because I don't care. So when I think school shooting, I don't think gang violence that happens at a school. That's not at all what I would. That's not at all how I think about it. So, is that how you guys are thinking of it? Because you're all saying yes. So to name one non-gang related. So let's readjust this. Because I don't count gang violence that happens at a school. That doesn't count as a school shooting. So, not including gang violence. Has there been a school shooting? If so, name it. Interesting topic to have a debate. What topic is that? Insight said they get covered locally, but they don't get national attention unless they fit the narrative. Okay. Give me an example. One text said, to be honest, what we all need is armed guards for schools. We can legally protect our banks, but not our most valuable assets. Bullshit. Shout out to Blue Chunks. Welcome to the party. Said, join us on the Powder Dusty channel sometime. Lots of great debates. Hey, yeah, I am definitely down for that. Let's check out the powdered, what is it? Powdered Dusty. What do we got here? All right, cool. What are we on live right now? What we got?
A little bit wild about it.
Of course, we hit the like button on every stream that we watch. That was that was definitely covered.
I thought that Mudcrab was going to come up and tell me why I'm wrong about Bitcoin, the trap for idealists who think that it's the new gold.
It is.
Yeah, that would have been a good conversation to get that, but who knows? Maybe people don't want to hear people talk about Bitcoin. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm sort of actually just stalling because I'm about to go get something to eat, but I was going to rage you.
So maybe not a perfect time to check in, but hey, I am subscribed, so let them know that I am definitely down. The hit count has a lot to do with if it gets covered. Maybe. I just feel like when we have somebody who storms a school and is taking out multiple people, that's the first thing that a CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News is going to want to cover. Maybe I'm wrong.
Audrey was her belief that women should be interested in her romantically. Her rage storms were highly focused on rejection and consistent with her being an incel. People sought out a novel motive, but as it turns out, just like Audrey, her motivation was nothing special. She was just another narcissist who took everything personally and sought revenge to ease her own pain. Audrey believed that she could force the world to recognize her greatness, to rewrite rejection into reverence, and to escape insignificance through infamy.
Well, unfortunately, that one was indeed accomplished. Shout out to equality and deference because vagina. Welcome to the party. Fox said she tried being a man in a man's world. Did not work out for her.
Similar to every wannabe deity who resorts to violence, Audrey only demonstrated the dangers of narcissism.
And we can see again that even though this was an attack on religious people, that this was in and of itself at least, if not religious, dogmatic, ideologically based shooting. So yet again, I will say, and dogma. Something that, I should have said this up before. Wait, give me 2 seconds to do something real cool. That is exactly what we talk about when we are saying that even if it's not necessarily, even if it's not necessarily your typical religions, that it's still bad to have dogma. And so I will urge you all to go and check out TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official merch, including that end dogma. We got mugs, we got stickers, we got buttons, we've got all that good stuff. You can even get a phone case, all that good stuff, only at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, of course, if you didn't know, of course, you know, we have our Discord server that is absolutely free to join, pinned at the top of the chat. Make sure you come on through, and it's absolutely free to join. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below the video, hit that join button. There's a few different tiers here, but it starts at just $2.99. It's your members-only live streams here on YouTube, and it opens up the full Discord server, including the voice channel. So as soon as we are done here, we are headed over there for an after party. It is a good time. Definitely come and join us. And guys, of course, make sure if you're on, click that button so that you can click this here, go to gift settings, and make sure you allow gifts, because sometimes we have generous people who will gift, they will gift memberships, and you can get in there for free. Make sure you do it. Yep, fuck YouTube. And I think you're all gonna be happy with the ad situation going forward. Dietrich said, that's like saying the pizza in my oven isn't a pizza because it's Jack's instead of DiGiorno. A shooting in a school is a shooting in a school. Fair enough, but I mean I'm not surprised. I don't see it as an issue that every single gang shooting that happens on school grounds is not front page news. I don't see that as an issue. Whereas if we have situations like that, that should be front page news. Gonzag said people may not like Jordan Peterson, but he is unquestionably right when he talks about school shooters and their mindset. None of this stuff about her is remotely surprising to me. Yep, it's exactly what we expect. Exactly what we expect.
Who resorts to violence, Audrey only demonstrated the dangers of narcissism. Any power in the hands of a narcissist
is too much.
Those are my thoughts in the case of Audrey Hale. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. So, lots more information. Did we finish up the thing here? We did, right? Yeah. So lots of stuff that shows us clearly what the intentions were, that there clearly was documentation on why this was done, whether you want to call it a manifesto or a collection of manifestos or a collection of documents that could be considered a manifesto or could take the place of whatever. Clearly, there was some bullshit. There was some bullshit in the media trying to force a narrative that did not fit. That it was just some poor trans girl that just was so bullied and she didn't know any better and she just needed to feel something or whatever fucking bullshit. And we're not gonna play that shit. We are not gonna play that shit. Not accepted. You do not pass go, and you do not collect $200. So we do have a little bit of time left, guys. Like I said, even though that didn't cover the whole time, I did want to discuss that. And since I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with covering multiple things, I figured we could come back and do something with our boy Charlie Kirk. He has been doing the damn thing, going to different college campuses and really doing better than what we saw from the Ben Shapiro's of his day, and even the Crowder Change My Mind thing. That it's really about engaging in discussion, and it's not about an adult, a big adult grown person coming to dunk on college kids. So this is one example. He's got a whole channel of these. Definitely check them out. But this one's entitled "Charlie Kirk Faces the Final Boss of College Leftists." Anything else before we dive into this? Inside of the Ages said the zeitgeist primarily focuses on what the media wants us to focus on. And that is something we need. That itself is something we need to be aware of and make sure we understand that we don't get caught up in it. So our poll, not including gang violence, has there been a school shooting that was not covered by mainstream media? 60% of you said yes. So I would like an article or a town or a name. Give me something that was not in gang violence that happened to the school that was not covered by mainstream media. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is this thing on? Oh, I guess it is. All right. My name is Blake. Watch out, everybody. The master debater is here.
Really, dude? Austin Powers jokes? Austin Powers?
My name is Blake.
Watch out, everybody. The master debater is here.
You're goddamn right.
Why don't come up to the mic? Come on.
Didn't expect that. And again, I purposely chose something a little bit more lighthearted after.
No, come up to the mic.
That. And guys, we still do not even have a stream sponsor. Do not forget, every single donation comes with a treat for Morty, and we do have the swole goal up at the top of the chat. Let's feed the dog and bulk me up.
Since you're so smart, show the world how smart you are. We'll give you our mic, not your bullhorn. So come on up.
I was gonna say suck on a dick. So come on up. Suck on a dick.
So now we know that you're like a blatant narcissist that needs attention at all times to cut in line. Tell us what's so pressing that...
More narcissism. More narcissism. A shathid? A shathid? My cousin's not there.
You needed to interrupt us before he could even talk. So...
Quality said, what's wrong with Austin Powers? Nothing's wrong with Austin Powers, but this motherfucker was not alive when Austin Powers came out. I'm talking about this guy. So, like, he heard that somewhere else and thought that that was a cool joke to be like, oh, a master debater, you know, because it sounds like masturbator. Nothing's wrong with Austin Powers. There's something wrong with quoting Austin Powers in 2025 thinking that you're being original.
Tell us what's so pressing that you needed to interrupt us before he could even talk.
So, let's talk about the 200 people deported without due process to El Salvador. I don't know if you saw this morning, but a United States citizen was actually deported.
It was not a U.S. citizen. That's not correct.
Liar.
It's not a U.S. citizen. It was actually...
Come on.
No,
that's not a lie, dude. He's talking about Mahmoud, who was not a citizen.
Actually deported.
It was not a U.S. citizen. That's not correct.
Liar.
Liar.
It's not a U.S. citizen. It was actually...
Come on.
No, it was someone that was living here. Yeah, it was not a U.S. citizen.
Hey, this guy just lies. It's not.
No.
Hey, no. You wanna have a debate, but you don't.
It was
debate.
not a U.S. citizen. First of all.
You want to have a debate, but you actually don't debate. There's nothing more ill.
So
says the guy who is using a bullhorn into a microphone.
Okay. So we already have a mic.
Name 2 times. Name 2 times where you
Show me you're losing without telling me you're losing.
What? So you're just going to lie?
Well, first of all, it's not a U.S. citizen. He was living here for a while. He was part of MS-13. Answer yes or no.
Okay.
Should members of a terrorist organization be able to stay in the United States after they've murdered, raped, and gone after American citizens?
Obviously, no.
So we have deported those people back to their country.
The Fifth Amendment
That's what they've done.
calls for due
The Fifth
process.
Amendment does not.
All right, we got a list. We got a list here from Insight of the Ages. So let's see. I'm pretty sure. Well, we started with Antioch. I've heard of that one. And I certainly don't watch. What the hell? Where are we? So I'll do this. So Antioch, heard about that one. West High. This was this was last November. Okay, I did not hear about that. 15-year-old was shot and wounded in the parking lot. Quick containment, no fatalities. Okay. Abundant Life in December 2024. Fatal shooting occurred at this private school. Despite being one of 39 school shootings in 2024, it didn't break through national news. School in Delaware. Student, what? Delaware. Oh, wait. Delaware's high student exposure rate to shootings suggests an incident with injuries or deaths occurred, but its small scale or location kept it under the radar. Well, what? Did it happen or did it not happen? That doesn't count. School in Utah. Utah's elevated. Yeah, those don't count. One person died and 5 were injured in a school shooting. Where though? This is weird. Ask it. So ask it for like specifics on the ones that don't have a name. Because like, okay, I'll give you the there was the 2 here that I didn't hear about, and fair enough. But the yeah, those happen, and I didn't hear about them. I'm not making excuses there. Obviously, I was envisioning situations like, again, we have the school on lockdown and all of that stuff. That usually is going to make the news. But fine, these didn't. But the rest of these on this list are just like, yeah, there was a school somewhere one time and it definitely happened, but it wasn't in the news, but it was definitely in the news, but it didn't happen. Or, I mean, it happened, but I don't know. Just weird. So, all right. I mean, I guess there were, but typically Typically, Equality said because Football Head is a paragon of humility. Nobody said Charlie Kirk was humble. Nobody said that he was humble, but he's sitting here willing to talk to this dude with a bullhorn in the microphone.
Back to their country.
The Fifth Amendment
That's what they've done.
calls for due
The Fifth
process.
Amendment does not apply to foreign
That's
citizens
bullshit.
that are
It
here
says
illegally.
all persons.
Yeah, totally fair, but mentioned is mentioned.
No, it's only
No.
to U.S. citizens.
That's a
Or rather, mentioned is in the news. Hey, shout out to Guam Tech. Thank you. So very, very much for the $2. Thank you. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. And that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very much appreciated.
Foreign citizens that are here
it says
illegally.
all persons.
No, it's only to U.S. citizens.
That's a lie. He's a liar.
So,
He can't debate. He just
okay,
lies.
you've now sworn like 3 times. Let's just
What,
calm
you don't
down
like
a little
freedom
bit.
of speech?
Well, I mean, you could say whatever you want if you want to make a fool of yourself, but we do have like 10-year-olds here and 11-year-olds, so can we have some decency?
Whatever.
Of course you don't care. It's not a flex that you don't care about seemingly anything. That you just care about yourself and saying what you want to say. That's not a flex. That's the whole point.
If you want to make a fool of yourself, but
Shout out again to Guam Tech.
you have like 10-year-olds here and 11-year-olds, so can
I
we have
don't
some
care.
decency?
Whatever.
Okay, you don't care. You're a typical leftist because you only care about yourself,
Who said I was
not
a
about
leftist?
the other people.
Who said I was a leftist?
Well, it's
Bruh. Tell me you're a leftist without telling me you're a leftist.
very clear by how you're acting. Let me ask you a question. Should we be able to deport terrorists that are here in the United States?
With due process.
And we gave them due process.
What was the due process?
They were part of
Then
MS-13.
how
It
did
was
a
very clear.
No,
and
that
now
is
they're
not
in an
true.
El Salvadorian jail.
That literally
But-
isn't true.
Yeah, it goes like yelling, he's a liar over and over. Best argument ever.
Most
Also, why wouldn't
importantly,
they just get deported? Why would they get sent to a jail?
well,
That-
deported
from a-
to a jail. By the way,
Not-
many of these people
not even their country. They're not from
many
El
of these-
Salvador.
many
They're not from America either.
these other people,
You
many of these
find
people
them
are
being
already in
here.
prisons for crimes that they committed against the United States of America.
And I'll even go out on a limb and say that the El Salvadorian prison thing, that is, maybe a little too far in terms of public opinion and all that stuff. Do we really need to go that far? Can we just send these motherfuckers home? But either way, they don't belong here. So why are you okay with them not being sent to El Salvador because they don't belong in El Salvador, but you're okay with them being sent here when they don't belong here? No principles, just positions.
So do we have a right to decide who is in the interior of the United States?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what's your big
It's
disagreement?
called due process.
Again, the due process,
Hold on.
if every single one of them got their own trial and their own
They
date,
did not get a trial.
if they
That's
got
the
that,
problem.
if they got that, it would take us 10 years to deport like 200 people. We have a constitutional right to be under the Alien Invaders Act of 1798 to be able to
We're
repel.
not at war.
Well, hold on. We are at war. We've been invaded by 10 million
Congress
people
has
over the
to-
last 4
Congress
years.
has to declare an act of
Actually,
war.
that's not correct. Congress never declared war against Iraq.
Well, that is correct, but in the sense that it's not technically a war unless Congress declares it. Are we then going to say that Iraq, Vietnam were not wars? So technically, yes, you are correct that Congress is supposed to be the ones that declare war, but that's not the world that we've lived in for at least 15, 20, 30 years. Well, I said, how hard is this to understand? If you're not an American citizen, you don't have the same goddamn rights as an American citizen. So what if you're like here on a visa?
The last 4
Congress
years.
has to declare an
Actually,
act of war.
that's not correct. Congress never declared war against Iraq. We never declared war against Afghanistan. We actually never had an official declaration of
Afghanistan,
war
yeah.
against Vietnam.
Well, everybody
the president.
Right, so, fine. You can make the argument that according to the Constitution, that Congress is the one that declares war. You could say that all you want, but you then have to say that Afghanistan, Iraq, and Vietnam, I'm sure among others, Yemen, are not wars. I mean, technically, yes, there was no declaration, but is that really the argument that you want to make? It was that I should go on tour and challenge Charlie on better topics. That definitely would be interesting. That's the only bad part about going to the college campuses is the fact that the kids only are at the level of college. Not to say that they're all stupid or they're all uneducated, but there's a certain homogeneity that they all think they're kind of the same stuff. MX9 said Korea wasn't a war under those standards either. Yeah, no, we never went to war with Korea. This just didn't happen. Just didn't, or not. Yeah, it never happened.
Declared war against Afghanistan. We actually never had an official declaration of war against Vietnam.
Well, everybody
the president
knows
of the United
America
States
commits war crimes every day.
Okay, that's a separate issue.
And supports
let's
Israel
stay.
Deflection.
Let's stay focused. Who is the commander in chief?
Donald Trump.
Yes. So if the
You're goddamn right.
So if the commander in chief labels an invasion, it is an invasion. So when Venezuela opens up their prisons and sends in and to the interior of the United States, we have the right.
Proof.
We have the give you proof. The
What do you
Venezuelan government has been found with a bipartisan congressional study that they have been sending the worst of their citizens to our country to increase crime, to kill people like Lake and Riley, to come into our communities.
You know how we would be able to get proof on that? If there was some process of vetting those people before they came into the country. We want to get that proof. But it's people like you who are saying, oh my goodness, you're vetting people coming into this country, saying that they could potentially be rapists and murderers? That's racist.
We have the opportunity and the ability, based on the laws of the land, to say that this is an invasion from a foreign country and we are repelling it. And by the way, how is it not an invasion when 10 million people come into your country uninvited?
That is an unfact number.
Okay, then let me ask, what is an invasion? What is an invasion?
I would call an invasion. I would call an invasion similar to Israel taking Gaza.
Hold on.
That's an invasion.
Bro. The clear, like, the tactic is so obvious. How can I turn this question into something that I want to talk about? The bad faith is radiate. I don't even know. Like, oh my God.
Hold on. No. Don't give me like a definition, like a textbook. What used define the term?
It's a military complex.
Tax evader.
Okay, so what you mean when they come with weapons and they're all military age men and they come into the interior of the United States and that they're being prompted by a government or a cartel? How is that not a invasion?
He's not a king.
No. Answer
the question. Again, that is such a pet peeve of mine. It's very clear. You're standing in a group of people that see that you were just asked a question, and then you say something that is clearly not an answer to that question. Because you think that everybody's not going to realize that you didn't answer the question? Maybe you're that stupid. But no. We heard you not answer the question.
Is that not a invasion?
He's not a king.
No. Answer the question.
Look at this girl. I was like, what the fuck is he saying?
A invasion.
He's not a king.
No. Answer the question. I never said he was a king. He's a duly elected president. So is it not an invasion?
No. It's called illegal immigration. And you do it and you solve it via due process.
Okay.
It's not an invasion.
At what point would it become an invasion?
Probably whenever they tear down the border and actually steamroll in with military vehicles.
Yeah, we would have no idea what that would look like, right?
No, we do know what it look like. It's what's happening in Israel and Gaza right now.
Okay, that's a whole separate issue that I'm happy to talk to you about.
It's a perfect example of an invasion.
No, hold on.
How is it not?
Because we're not asking for an example. We're asking for a definition. Those are different things. Quality said, if the commander-in-chief declares a football head a terrorist, then he be a Terry, and we need to what are you talking about? I do hate when a knuckle fucking tit wank refuses to answer the question. I said, shit, me too.
I actually agree that Israel has invaded Gaza. I agree. Okay, because they're using sophisticated military equipment like the Venezuelan cartel and the drug and the Sinaloan drug cartels.
They're
Secondly,
being funded by the
it's
United
planned by
States.
governments.
No.
Second, it's planned by governments. Third, and most importantly, do you think 10 million people that have come into this country since Joe Biden was president, was that good for America?
To be clear, I don't think you're here to actually have a debate because clearly.
Oh, so we're not going to answer the question again, even though you are literally debating him right now. You walked up to the thing with a fucking bullhorn, and he let you cut the line and come debate him. But he doesn't want to debate. Charlie doesn't want to debate. Projection. You can't make this shit up. We're not. He wants to really, 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 really bad. Really, really bad. Oh, my goodness. Shout out to Thugston. Said, didn't Charlie Kirk lose every debate he ever had? I don't know. I've never heard of him. I'm just watching for the first time. So let's see how he does. Welcome to the party.
Was that good for America?
To be clear, I don't think you're here to actually have a debate because clearly you never change your mind. No. So
unless you change your mind, you're not debating.
I'm actually not here to debate you.
I've asked.
You literally are. You were over there and you came over here to debate him.
Do 5 or 6 questions and you haven't.
Faith person.
Yeah, you interrupted me.
Hey, do you condemn Elon Musk?
Do you condemn something completely irrelevant? Do you condemn what the Nazis did before you were even born? Cope.
Doing Nazi salutes.
Oh, so
I remember this part. Oh my God. If you are doing something, take 10 seconds to watch the screen.
You condemn Elon Musk doing Nazi salutes.
Oh, so
do you? It's simple.
It's very simple. It was not a Nazi salute.
Do it.
See,
Do it.
I have done it multiple times.
No,
let me
Do it. Who do you think you are?
interrupt you. That is a bad faith question and argument. You
Gotcha. Nazi salute. Oh, we win. Points for our team because that's what we're doing. We're just playing games. Yikes. I'm saying I used a bullhorn, got brought to the front, but he's not there to debate. Sure, Jan. And let's go with another projection. Got him. Thugston, where you at? Thugston, is he winning or is he losing, Thugston?
No, let me interrupt you. That is a bad faith question and argument. You just did a Nazi salute. You're a Nazi. I can't believe it. Nazi.
Thugston!
Nazi off our campus.
Thugston, where you at?
Slams it down to their chest like Elon Musk did.
How about this? You and I both know
right wing.
You and I both know.
Or is it Thugstein?
In Germany.
Okay, you and I both know that Elon Musk is not a Nazi. It's such a ridiculous, preposterous thing to say. Instead,
and again, it's the perception that, oh, they won't know that I'm deflecting and just going to bring up this random thing that we all saw him say. My heart goes out to you. They don't know that. Oh, wait, they do know that? Because they're not retarded like I am?
You are mad? Why are we using American police to protect his dealerships?
What? That's what cops do. If fuckers like you are blowing up private property, it is the job of the police to protect that and to make sure you don't do it. Why wouldn't the American police be used to protect his dealerships? I can't even, I'm trying, when questions like that come up, clearly this guy is just trying to get points, as we just said before. What point did he think he was going to get bringing up the fact that American police are protecting American private property? You know, just like the ones in the the comment section of the Sam Cedar debate. If you guys did not go back and check the comment section, It is great. They are just thrashing at each other. Look, the comments on the PBD video said that Sam won because we all flooded the comments and said Sam won. So checkmate, bro. Stupid. Well, I mean, if the YouTube comments say it, fuck my opinion, right? MX9 said protecting property is literally the job of law enforcement. If Elon hired private security, he'd be accused of having his own police force. Can't win. Can't win.
Okay? Instead, you
Then
are
why
mad.
are we using American police to protect his dealerships?
Well, hold on a second. If any place of private property is torched,
why does
your home or a college campus.
Asking another question, but as you learned that the question you just asked gets an answer that doesn't help you the way you thought it was going to help you. So you thought you did a thing. So you're using the American police to do this, their job. And they're like, oh, wait. That is their job. So what about this other question? I don't understand how these people don't see that we can all see them for what they are. I don't get it. Shout out to anything with the $5 make you holler. Said woof, woof. Woof, woof, indeed. Thank you. So very, very much. Said, fuck you, Guangtech. I am the sponsor now. Thank you very, very much. Our new sponsor said, is this guy cosplaying as a pregnant person? Sure looks like it. Yeah. I mean, it seems cliche. But it fits every single time.
If any place of private property is torched, your home or a college campus,
why does the richest
shouldn't it be
person in
protected?
the world need our money to protect his property?
Hold on a second. If dealerships or if private property is threatened by a mob, that is the role of the police to protect private property, whether it be a Wendy's being burned by Black Lives Matter or a Tesla dealership being burned by angry people like you. The police should protect private property from swarms and mobs and hordes of people that would never build something themselves, want to destroy the property of others.
But guys, he's not a leftist.
The first and final cause of government is to protect private property rights. That is a good role of the United States Police Force or the FBI or the ATF.
Police protecting the dealerships for.
So again, just moving right on. You asked, are you okay with the American police being used to do the job of the American police? And we said yes. And so instead of acknowledging, okay, good point. Let me move on to something else. Just throwing out another question. And that's good compared to just jumping in with another question in the middle of the answer. But it's still pathetic that these people think. I don't know what they think. I don't think they do think.
United States Police Force or the FBI or the ATF.
Police protecting the dealerships before they even before a mob is even there.
Yeah, so that the mob doesn't burn it down. See, this is where I wish Charlie would be a little bit more of the type of person of instead of making points, because his stuff like that. What kind of views does this have? So I mean, this has over 500,000 views on 3 million subs. So these videos do well, but they do gangbusters on TikTok. And it is I think the goal in terms of content making. Obviously, he is there in good faith to have these discussions, but at the end of the day, he wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for the content, and there's nothing wrong with that. Point being that I think it is catered towards Charlie making good points, whereas if he would let himself I don't know the word, just back out a little bit, because this would be a great opportunity to ask this guy, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with going to the dealerships before there's a mob there? And let him fucking die on that hill. Bambi said they think their thoughts are the right ones So they have precedent to talk, even when they get shouted down.
The ATF police protecting the dealerships before they even before a mob is even there.
Hold on,
Do you think that's a good use of taxpayer dollars?
Yes. Given what we use taxes for, yes.
Hundreds of
Protecting
Tesla
a billionaire's property.
Hold on a second. It's not
Wait, what billionaire's property? Do you understand what car dealerships are?
billionaire's property. He employs well over 100,000 people. Tesla stock is held by teachers across the country.
And it's dropping,
This is
not because of America.
Because of people like you.
Do you want it to drop?
Absolutely.
There you go.
See that
There
is
you
a
go.
sick and twisted worldview.
There you go.
What you
No,
want?
it
You want
is.
Target's stock
But
to drop
hold
whenever
on
they have an
but no,
LGBT flag
Hold on a
in
second.
their stock?
First of all, Target doesn't really.
What?
Let me explain. Target doesn't really make anything. Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
I will say their name brand, or not name brand, but their store brand beef jerky is fire. Just putting it out there.
Target does not really make anything in this country. That's a separate issue. Tesla.
You're saying the same thing about the dealerships.
Allow me
They
to.
don't make anything. They just
Hold
hold
on.
the cars.
Allow me to finish. You understand all Tesla dealerships are owned by Tesla and they're manufactured in America and designed by Americans they're made in America.
They're not designed. They're not all made in America.
Hold on a second. Most Teslas are made in America. So what you are cheering for is the disenfranchisement and unemployment of Americans. And that goes back to my point, is that from you interrupting to coming up to the mic, you are an agitator or a leftist that would never be able to build something yourself.
I work in construction and have since the age of
No, the fuck you do not work in construction. Get the fuck out of my face.
14.
Well, you're not working today, and it is a weekday.
Actually,
and
I took off work, and it's lunch hour.
But
okay,
but let me further complete
I've
my
already worked
point.
20 hours this week.
Allow me.
Oh, 20 hours, bro. Work 20 hours. Well, I stand corrected. Because we all know that people in construction only work 20 hours a week. Maybe you're the receptionist at a construction company, but you do not work construction.
Hour.
But
okay.
I mean, I certainly don't work construction, but I'm not going to claim that I work construction.
Okay.
But let me further complete
I've
my
already worked
point.
20 hours this week.
Allow me to
This
further.
isn't a job.
Wow, 20.
You call this
20
a job?
hours? Wow.
Yeah, and it's Tuesday.
I
started yesterday.
Allow me to further complete my point, which is that it is easy.
All right. So, I mean, fair enough. But that was without the context, that was funny.
To interrupt and to scold and to insult. You know what's hard? To go actually build a company like Tesla or SpaceX. And how about you say thank you for Elon Musk rescuing those astronauts that were stranded by Joe Biden?
No. To people's lives, I don't care about that. I've already told you, Charlie. Are you not listening? I don't care about other people. Why would you expect me to thank somebody who saved lives? He saved lives. I must deny, I said, in all honesty, I had an issue with the boycott of Bud Light because I knew it would affect people who had no control over what corporate did. Fair, but there has to at that point, it wasn't we weren't in the same position. And so I hear what you're saying, but something needed to be done. And look where we are now. A whole bunch of other jobs are coming back to America. Baby said a construction worker is obvious because they work hard. They'd be dirty by lunchtime. Yeah, there's still creases in this motherfucking shirt. Like, you were wearing this, and you're just on lunch. No, not happening. I don't believe you.
Elon Musk rescuing those astronauts that were stranded by Joe Biden. Can you say thank you, Elon Musk, for rescuing the astronauts? Can you say that?
I think Elon Musk for taking a chainsaw to the National Park Service, multiple services.
So,
aren't you an Eagle Scout?
What would you have to say?
Did you even graduate college? You know,
No.
you know
In
this
fact-
appeal to authority.
I didn't go to college. I've been able to be.
And yet, Thugston, we saw it together. We saw it together, the first debate that Charlie Kirk ever won. Where you at? I thought we were going to be celebrating together, bro.
You have
Did you
to
even
say,
graduate college? You know,
no.
you know
In
this
fact,
guy didn't graduate
I
college?
didn't go to college. I've been able to be pretty successful without a
not
4-year
graduate
degree.
college.
Yeah, I did not go to
Yeah, you're
college.
gonna come to college and act like you know
So
fucking better
are we
than
gonna
everybody?
are we gonna debate resumes or?
Well, no. If he worked 12 hours on Monday and he worked, there we go. Lie caught. Because 10 hours a day is not nothing crazy. But if it's Tuesday at lunch, not Tuesday at the end of the day, then yeah, he must have worked a 20-hour day on Monday. And still all this energy to come out on his lunch break. Instead of eating his peanut butter and jelly, he came out here to do a public service, to shout down the bigotry, to shout down the hatred. And yet he's still got another 10 hours of work today. A hero in front of our eyes.
Yeah, you're gonna come to college and act like you know fucking better
are
than
we
everybody.
are we gonna?
But he does. So what does that say about college?
Debate resumes or ideas?
Ideas.
Because
that's why I brought up your resume.
So hold on.
To just defund every major.
Do you
fucking
want to
program?
debate resumes or ideas? Because if you want to argue from authority as if you're somehow smarter than I am because
I'm
you
not
have a
claiming
meaningless
He does seem like a sushi at lunch kind of guy.
4-year college degree, or do we got to say who's actually right or wrong? You're engaging in a
So you
logical
think it's
fallacy when you do
You
that.
think it's meaningless to have a degree in construction engineering?
I honestly,
told you, called it. Construction engineering. Which means he works in an office for a company and does not do construction. He's in construction. These weaselly little fucks. Semantic obfuscation. He knows that when he says, I'm in construction, we're all going to picture him in the fucking hard hat and the thing, digging ditches or whatever it is. He knows that. But then he told on himself.
So you
logical
think
fallacy when you do that.
You think it's meaningless to have a degree in construction engineering?
Honestly,
and be a
most
person who
college
wants to
degrees
build
are
this
largely
country?
meaningless. Yes, most college degrees.
And I'm sure. Oh, excuse me. I don't know what's going on with me today. I'm sure one of you guys have been in construction before. Is it not the best way to move up in construction to just do construction and just keep working and work your way up? Or is it typically that there's a guy with a degree who just starts right as the foreman or whatever? Is it not like? Am I mistaken? I don't know anything about that. I clearly need you guys to bulk me up because I've never worked in construction. But it sounds like the best way to move up and become somebody who does construction from people that I know, all the way to fucking what's his name, Roy in The Office, is to just do the stuff, and you move up by getting that experience. Am I wrong? One of you has got to know more about construction work than me.
Honestly,
be a
most
person who
college
wants to
degrees
build
are
this
largely
country?
meaningless. Yes, most college degrees are meaningless, and most of you guys are being totally scammed by being here.
No.
Now, let me further.
No. I'm not going to ask you what you mean. I'm just going to say that you're wrong. Bambi said, I was a project manager in construction. I loved it, but I didn't do the work. I'd estimate jobs, do takeoffs, and check job sites for OSHA compliance. Did you tell people that you were in construction? And that's what I mean. That seems like the type. And there's nothing wrong with having a position like that. There's something wrong with having a position like that and trying to act like you have this rough and tough blue collar job. Yeah, I don't.
Complete the point.
So getting educated is a scam.
Most times.
No. More semantic. Well, I'll call that linguistic creep, or maybe just a misunderstanding, because you can see that they perceive going to college and getting education as synonymous. That's not necessarily the same thing. Getting an education doesn't mean that you are educated. This is what they don't understand. And people say you pay attention, you learn, you get more responsibilities, you move up the ladder, rinse and repeat. So you don't want to get a degree in construction engineering and then, go to the foreman and tell him you're his new boss. Is that what you're telling me?
Let me further complete the point. What?
So getting educated is a scam.
Rhea? Forgot for a second, but I'm not saying that out loud.
By being here.
No.
Now, let me further complete the point. What?
So getting educated is a scam.
Most times, first of all, it's not always an education, and you are perfect evidence that you haven't really been educated. You are hyper hostile. You have no humility. You have very little wisdom about how the world works, and you come and you want.
Yeah, but he does construction management.
So badly to be recognized and noticed, you came with your own bullhorn to cut in line someone who patiently waited to ask the first question.
And it's the same mentality that you see all across. That's why we call them bots and NPCs, because they're all the same. They're all the same. Again, if we go look, I'm going to pull it up when we're done with this. The comment section from the Sam Cedar stream. It is so interesting to see how they are all in line, the exact same mentality. And that because they see other, that stream got over 400, maybe near 500 views by now. There's maybe 10 different people commenting, if that. And because most normal people don't get into a whole thing in YouTube comments. You might leave a comment here or there, but most people aren't getting into arguments in YouTube comments. At least not healthy people. But they are taking that as in the same way. Well, my college said it, therefore I'm educated. Well, the other people that agree with me are also in the YouTube comment section. Therefore, it must be true. It's the same fucking shit. They're just too stupid to see outside their own perspective. And so they basically take plans and advise on product specs needed to meet and load capacity, etc. Things of that nature, not things of construction, as in constructing things.
Noticed you came with your own bullhorn to cut in line someone who patiently waited to ask the first question. What have you actually learned at this institution except that you're the center of the world and everyone must listen to you? In fact, there is a God and you are not him. And instead of
you go to countries, or you go to campuses and agitate people for like this exact.
You literally walked up with a bullhorn. Projection! Lefty here is going to get me drunk. He's going to get me drunk.
Scenario,
I sit here and ask questions. You're the agitator, not me.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Well, you don't like free speech, dude?
Correct. That's free.
You have been unable to do so, despite your magical education.
Agitator, not me.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah, correct. That's free speech.
But how are you having to? This is free speech, and yet you're upset about it.
Well, no, the way that you've conducted
freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Just because you say whatever you want doesn't mean I'm not going to be upset about it. No principles, just positions.
To yourself, obviously you have a right to do it.
It's free speech whenever college students protest against Israel committing Gaza
sometimes
and getting black bags.
Well, it depends.
In Louisiana.
Well, it depends. If they storm a library and are violent against other students, then not so much.
What about all the peaceful ones?
It depends on a case by case. But the students want another question.
Are they chanting next? Next.
Peaceful ones.
It depends on a case by case, but the students want another question. And I do agree with them because you embody the worst of this generation, which is, and
are you looking in the mirror?
And I do look in the mirror. You know what I see? I see a sinner that wouldn't act the way you do, which is constantly interrupting, someone that wants to always be, the center of conversation, hyper narcissistic.
This is what I think. I think
attitude, personality.
Name two times you've changed your mind because of a debate.
I have changed my mind.
For me, it would be religion and gun control.
Mine plenty of times.
Give
In
two
fact,
examples.
I used to be anti-death penalty, and now I'm pro-death penalty. I used to be more libertarian on drugs,
But are you
and now
pro-life?
I'm less
Are you against
libertarian on
abortion?
drugs.
Do you think
I am
believe
very
in-
much against abortion.
You're
in
against
fact.
abortion, even in a.
See, I feel like someone like this dude, if you were to just call out, like, see, you have to interrupt me because you know that if you let me finish my sentence, then you're going to look stupid. You still look stupid, but you know you're going to look even more stupid. So you're choosing to choose the stupid of talking over me instead of the stupid of letting me finish my answers. You say that one time. Maybe it doesn't work, but now everybody can see, because remember, these interactions that Charlie is doing, this is not to convince fucking a pregnant person here. This is to convince the over 600,000 of us that have watched it.
Case.
Yes, I am.
Aren't
That's
you?
correct.
Wow, ladies,
Yes.
listen up. If you get, you're gonna have to hold their fucking baby.
Okay, but let's ask you. Can I ask you a question? If I had an ultrasound of a baby conceived in, or an ultrasound of a baby conceived in a loving relationship, which one is which?
It doesn't matter. That's
No,
not the
because
context.
human rights do
It doesn't matter to me, therefore it's not important.
not stop based on the method of conception. Human rights are applied to all. In fact, did you know?
So
That's another leftist. Wow. 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 Wow.
Fact. Have more rights than a woman.
Well, actually,
nope. Same.
Do you know that there's
About
someone?
the control of
do
their
you know?
body? You're
Do you
saying
know?
More rights than anybody in the military or the healthcare field during COVID.
rapists
That
have
there's
more
someone in
control
this
than
audience.
the woman being
Did you,
raped.
there's someone in this audience that was conceived in. Can you tell me who it is?
It doesn't matter.
No, tell
Yet again, it doesn't matter to me. Therefore, it is irrelevant.
me who it is.
It
Because
doesn't matter. Why?
No,
what does that matter?
because
you're
what
burning.
matters is babies conceived in. Don't
And again, if you would answer a question, you'd understand.
who it is.
It
Because
doesn't matter. Why?
No,
what does that matter?
because
you're
what
burning.
matters is
Goes both ways. Goes both ways. Hey, he asked you why does it matter? Then hey, answer the question.
babies conceived in don't get less human rights just because they were conceived in a nasty, ugly, evil way. Human rights.
And that, I mean, that's a big place where I changed my mind as well. That when I was, I was never like really into the left, except for the very short period where I was like, I should start paying attention, and then I was brought into the Hillary mainstream bullshit. But I was always not very pro-choice, but I was always pro-choice when it came down to it, especially, the exceptions, the rape, life of the mother, incest and stuff like that. But the big thing that changed for me was the scientific idea that life begins at conception. When you have new DNA, you have new DNA. I don't understand how they are trying to make the arbitrary argument based on science that I should have an arbitrary line drawn. That don't make no sense. Shout out to Plungecast. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. Welcome.
less human rights just because they were conceived in a nasty, ugly, evil way. Human rights apply to all people.
You're talking about a.
Hold up. Did you see the video with the black chick telling the other black chick that foster kids should be killed? I did not see that. Drop a link in the Discord. I'll fucking watch that.
Person versus.
Actually, speaking of which, guys, we are past the 2-hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
An unborn fetus.
Actually, let's back that up.
Rights apply to all people.
You're talking about a person versus an unborn fetus.
Oh, so what's the difference between an unborn baby and a person? What is the moral difference?
Well, one.
Wow. I was half expecting that.
Fetus.
Oh, so what's the difference between an unborn baby and a person? What is the moral difference?
Well, one is living and breathing.
Well, how is the baby not living in utero? It has a heartbeat.
It would not live without the woman.
Hold on, but my 6-month-old baby won't live without my mom. It won't go hunt and gather for itself. My 10-month-old baby won't hunt and gather for itself. So how's that any different than a 2-month in utero?
It doesn't matter.
Hold on. No, answer the question.
It doesn't matter. I'm I winning the debate?
Entire argument.
Answer the question.
The problem
You
is,
used a
the
degree of
problem is you
dependency
think
argument.
Right. Have more rights.
No, I
than
don't. I
the
think
women
that
who has
all
been
human
raped.
beings.
And what right would that be? What right would that be that the rapist has? Just saying things. You just said that doesn't tie to anything that's being discussed at all. What rights does the rapist have? What are you talking about?
Argument.
Right. Have more rights.
No, I
than
don't. I
the
think
women
that
who has
all
been
human
raped.
beings have rights
Yeah.
because they're made
Probably
in the
because you
image of
voted for a
God,
rapist.
and every human being has a right to life and not the right to be exterminated or extinguished.
Every human
just
being
because.
has the right to life. You just said
Correct.
you're pro death penalty.
Everybody has the right to life until they kill somebody else. And I don't like the death penalty. I think there's cases where I could be convinced, like, all right, maybe this one, but across the board, by and large, I have to say that I don't trust the government enough to determine who should and should not live.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, so, all right, so
it can't be both.
Okay, yes, it can. So
wow.
Wow. Once you hear it, you can't stop.
Lives are more important than others.
What did the person that is on death penalty to get that punishment?
It depends on the crime.
They killed somebody.
No, that's not
if
always
you
true.
kill
It depends on the
somebody, then your
crime.
life should be taken
That's
from.
Not true.
Name one person who's ever. I agree with you that there's people on death row who are innocent, but they're all convicted of killing somebody. Much nine said, not crazy about the death penalty because, like you, I don't trust the government to do it right. That's the issue. I absolutely believe there are certain acts that you can do that are so bad that you forfeit your right to life. And if it were free to house people in jails, then absolutely there would be no way I would be in favor of the death penalty. But because it costs us a shit ton of money, then that also plays into it. So there are things where I think it would be justified, but I also understand while saying that I could be wrong about a certain situation. And if I could be wrong about a certain situation, and you could be wrong about a certain situation, and somebody else could be, then the government is always going to at least make a mistake. It's better that 100 guilty men go free than one innocent man be killed. Quality said traitors have been executed without actually killing. When's the last time a traitor was killed in America? That's not those words. When's the last time someone was put to death for being a traitor in the U.S.? I hate when they do this. Just give me the fucking answer. Wow, it's a default Pokemon move. So hold on. Okay, so we have last person, 1862, William Bruce Mumford. We're actually about the last execution under the charge is similar to treason. We had 1953, espionage, not treason. Treason is a very narrow definition of a crime that is rarely charged. Most serious national security crimes like espionage or terrorism are prosecuted under different federal statutes. So no one has been executed for treason in modern history under a formal article. So yeah, technically, equality is correct that you could be. But yep, nope. Before that, it was 1953. 1953, and technically, that was Vanity said ask Hillary. Good one.
Well, it's dependent on the crime.
Hold on a second. Show me an instance of somebody who got the death penalty in America.
Don't burden me with the responsibility of educating.
It's not my responsibility to educate you.
Show me an instance of somebody who got the death penalty in America the last 30 years that did not commit a capital offense.
I don't need to.
It does not
I don't need to. I have a girlfriend, but she goes to a different school.
exist. So therefore, a baby in utero did not go kill somebody. Somebody on death row killed somebody.
Yeah,
Are
but-
you smart enough or
but the
educated
woman-
enough to see the difference
do you-
between a
so-
baby in utero who did nothing wrong or someone that shut up a school?
Forget the
Do
baby.
you see the
problem
moral
is
difference?
women having control over their own body.
Which again, I guarantee you, he was for the vaccine mandates.
I
That's
agree.
the
So
issue.
I actually agree. In fact, I agree so much that unborn.
Yeah, especially when you get.
I agree so much that unborn girls in the womb should not be killed because their body should also be respected. If it's not your DNA, it's not your choice. If it's not.
Shout out to Equality and Deference. Thank you for stopping by. You have a good one. His girlfriend lives in Canada. She goes to a different school.
Not
You guys
your
don't
DNA,
know her.
It's not your choice. Thank you for your time, and I hope you'll learn something throughout your long run.
Suck it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What does lowercase teeth mean? What does that mean?
So who do you guys think won that? The narcissist or me? Who do you?
Thugston, where you at? Did he win that, or did he lose it? Did we just witness the first ever debate that Charlie Kirk won, or no? Are you still with lefty pregnant person? This motherfucker thought you came in and did a thing. They always think they could do a thing. They live their lives based on doing a thing. You ain't do shit. No, he said you're all uppercase.
Thank you.
Uppercase thumbs and lowercase teeth.
Thank you.
Or maybe it was. What? Some fucking leftist gay shit. I don't know.
So who do you guys think won that? The narcissist or me? Who do you think?
Who's the one that's surrounded by people?
You
both of you. What do you mean?
Do not have you do not have a permit for that speakerphone.
Oh, this is just like Michael Blackman, where we are 17 and a half minutes into this video. And he's like, you're not letting me speak for as long as I want to speak at your thing. You just had the mic. You just lost. And now you want to speak more. If I was you, I would want to run into a hole. But I don't know. Yeah, right? Look at those buff arms. Just like me. Just like me. And yeah, I mean, can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up.
Charlie doesn't like free speech. That's it. He cut off my
That's why he let you speak for almost 20 minutes.
mic because he doesn't like free speech.
You do not have a permit for that. If you want to go talk, go get a permit.
It's called free speech.
Well, you actually.
Do I need a permit to yell? Huh? Do I need a permit to yell?
And he still thinks like, oh yeah, I'm getting them. But yeah. No.
Where's Wyatt? We need Wyatt.
Uh-oh.
Do we need Wyatt?
Wyatt sounds scary. And then, you could also, one of these people in the crowd could also be like, this is harassment that you're yelling in my ear. So that's not protected by free speech.
Ask the next question.
All right. All right.
I don't care. It
Now that the
doesn't
peanut
matter.
gallery's
Can
done.
I just say that right there is a perfect picture of the petulant Democrat Party that is everything wrong with this country. Yes, sir. What's your question?
All right, so I'm basically here for one thing. I'm basically the opposite end of the spectrum that he is. I'm in favor for a full abolition of abortion federally. So, anyways, in my opinion, our hats say "Make America Great Again," but I think it's impossible to be great unless we are first good. And how can we be good if we continue to let the blood of innocent children continue to spill in the United States? Charlie, you've said that before. You are a Christian, that you believe Jesus is the Messiah, and that you believe that we are valuable from conception because we are made in the image of God, right? So,
What Whereas someone like myself who doesn't believe in those things can say we are valuable from conception because we are unique DNA and each person is each person and each person has value.
What scares me especially is
inherent value.
When we look at the Canaanites, when they were sacrificing their children to Moloch and God destroyed their civilization for it. That was one of the biggest reasons that he did. And what scares me is that in the modern day, we've kind of become complacent with the Dobbs decision, with returning the, regulation of abortion back to the states. And there's no sort of repercussion across the United States currently in every state for having an abortion in another state or ordering pills online. There's nothing preventing it. And we don't really treat abortion as murder as we believe it should be. So I guess my question to you is, how would you feel about a complete, full federal abortion ban?
I actually want to ask you guys the same question, and I'm going to make it broad. So just give your best answer. How do I want to phrase this? Should abortion be federally banned in all cases? Yes or no? I'm forcing you into a yes or no, and I'm using a federally banned in all cases, no exceptions. Yes or no? Because you say yes, fair enough. That's your position. If you say no, there's a lot of room for discussion and nuance. M69 said, I have issues with Christians who appeal to Old Testament authority. I mean, there's a lot of them. And that's like I've told you guys before, I talked to you guys here on the channel throughout my own Christian experience. And then after that, talking to other Christians, I had never, ever, ever heard this notion that we're throwing out the Old Testament. Like, obviously, the New Testament was the updated version of the words of Jesus, all that kind of stuff. But it was never taught to me that the Old Testament doesn't matter anymore. I don't know, just putting that out there.
My question to you is, how would you feel about a complete, full federal abortion ban? Or federal abortion.
I mean, I would love to get to that place. The body politic has to demand it and want it. And there are certain states that have not yet even been able to pass that on a state level.
Right.
One more for Morty.
And
one more for Morty.
President Trump has been a phenomenal pro-life president. He's not as pro-life as I am. And I think we need to understand that we are incrementalists when it comes in the fight for life and the fight for abortion. But the fight needs to happen less in our politics at this point. And I encourage everyone, do not hold President Trump to a standard that you will not hold your local pastor to.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Now, again, personally, that's not really relevant because I don't have a pastor, but I think that is a very good, way to keep the perspective of, the point I'm actually trying to get at is that I think we could all agree that there's too many, whatever it means to you, bad pastors or bad priests or bad churches. I'm sure we could all agree that we could find a church somewhere and we're like, that's not what we want. Whether it's you as a Christian or me as either way. So whatever you want to say that is. The point is that if there's pastors who are doing that, then why would we expect Donald Trump, who's not really a Christian like that, to do better than your own pastor?
One, do not hold President Trump to a standard that you will not hold your local pastor to. Every local church needs to be speaking out. Every local church needs to be speaking out about the crime of abortion, and every local church needs to be speaking out about why Christians need to be involved in this fight. And so it is a moral crime against our own country to have over 1 million abortions every single year. The Bible explicitly mentions that life begins at womb. Psalm 139.
So how do we use Psalm 139 to get Backpack Boy or people who think like Backpack Boy, but maybe are a little bit more amenable to changing their mind, but don't believe in the Bible? Is it not beneficial to be able to discuss this in a way that applies to all Americans? Just saying.
9, I knit you while you are in the womb. In fact, there is a Greek word by the name of brephos, which is the word baby, and it is used interchangeably when John the Baptist leapt in Elizabeth's womb, from when Jesus was a baby in Luke 2 in the manger. In fact, the scriptures make no distinction about a moral worth of a fully born baby in the manger versus a baby in the womb or in utero. The scriptures make...
I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, already, I'm just, like... And I don't think that it needs to be one or the other. I don't think it needs to be that we stop talking about some Psalms 139. That's absolutely not what I'm saying, because both of our goals is for less abortions to happen. So I'm not saying don't use that reasoning to people who will understand and be able to accept that reasoning. What I'm saying is it doesn't apply to everybody. And maybe it won't, maybe nothing's going to apply to everybody, but it certainly doesn't apply to the amount of people who would be amenable to understanding the notion that human life has value, that new DNA is created, that all of these secular things. The fact that life begins at conception is a secular fact. That doesn't make it a bad thing. There's too much discussion of secular equaling bad. Secular just means not religious. It's not a religious statement to say conception or life begins at conception. Shout out to Shifty Eyes Shady. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. So the medical industry makes way too much money from legal abortion. They will lobby for it to be legal. They definitely will, but I'm not asking the medical industry. I'm asking you. And right now we are split 50-50 down the middle. Guys, we're split 50-50 on abortion? Hit that poll. Plumscat said, using something they don't believe in to try to convince them is not a good move. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Now, this guy particularly did say he was a Christian. So, between the two of them having this discussion, no issues. I'm just bringing this up as an aside.
Baby in the manger versus a baby in the womb or in utero. The scriptures make no distinction whatsoever. And so we as Christians must recognize and realize that it is our to be able to stand up against the massacre and the slaughter of the least of these in society. Because if we are not able to fight for the little human beings, how would we ever fight for the big human beings? Thank you so much for your question, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
There we go. All right, all right. So a little bit more levity to back off the back of Audrey Hale and all of that bullshit. Hey, shout out to Shifty Eyes Shady joining the Discord. And of course, because Shifty Eyes Shady is a member, boom, 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 and now Shifty Eyes Shady has full access and can join us in the after party. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, and so I think it's one of the reasons that I wanted to discuss Audrey Hale is because I don't feel like, as somebody who's a non-believer, that I need to pretend that the Audrey Hale wasn't something that specifically targeted Christians. That doesn't do anything negative to my own worldview. What would is, what would is, because I don't believe in a thing, not acknowledging the reality that this woman targeted Christian. It is what it is. And so certainly I'm not talking about you guys here, but I can certainly see a situation where a bunch of atheists get gunned down and a lot of Christians are like, well, I mean, they were atheists. So, I'm not saying you guys here. I'm just saying, if you don't think, if you can't imagine that, I can definitely imagine that. And so it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Shifty Eyes said, I'm against abortion. And so we'll end it there with 7 votes. No, we do not want abortion federally banned in all cases. And if I had to guess, I think that shows the humanity in the pro-life position. That, of course, the pro-lifer, or the pro-choicers, they definitely don't see the difference between not wanting to murder babies and not being forced to subsidize a child that they didn't have. Those are two very different things, because you'll hear all the time, oh, you care about the baby until it's born and then you don't care about it anymore. Yes, we do. We have just as much problem with murder as we do with abortion, because murder and abortion, or rather abortion, is murder. But because you won't pay taxes and this and that, and like, you don't care. You don't care. You're just saying that because you want to control women's bodies like a Handmaid's Tale. It's like, shut up. Shut up. In the same way that I was frustrated at DebateCon with all the atheists having these antiquated arguments from 10 years ago that at least Christian debaters have evolved beyond. It's like, why are you not paying attention to this if this is what you do? And if you're not going to pay attention, hey, I'm right here. I'll move the conversation forward. Even if moving the conversation forward means that we know for sure that my position of potentially there could be something better for humanity's spirituality and proximity to God than Christianity. And we can't know that unless we continue to search. Even if moving that conversation forward gets us to a place where we do know for sure that Christianity is the best thing that humanity is capable of. Okay. I'm totally fine with that. I want the truth. That's what matters. That from the same people who want to shut down pro-life pregnancy centers. No principles, just positions. So my preference is yes, but I recognize that progress takes time and you have to choose your battles sometimes. Well said. Let's close it down there. Let's give a big shout out to Thugston. Hey, Thugston coming in hot. Let's give Morty a treat for that just because he popped up. Go eat it, motherfucker. There you go. And our donations, we got our boy Guam Tech and our sponsor of the stream, Indie Film. A big shout out to all of the disciples. You guys also very lots of support, many supports. You know what the fuck I mean. Thank you guys so very much. If you are a member, I hope to see you in the after party. Once again, guys, this is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.